Let's go. If you understand.
Where's the long distance from?
Washington. Oh, she bounced to Washington.
Washington State. Okay.
Yeah. Not too far from Seattle, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Seattle's nice. I love Seattle. I just went for the first time.
Y'all be like on FaceTime chilling together, like watching, Netflix or whatever, or be playing games.
Virtual dates.
Hey, that's
Sending virtual flowers.
the new normal.
Virtual flowers. What are those?
I don't know.
It's like an image of
I haven't. Look, I'm not.
You could
Is that a
send
gift?
her
You can send
flowers.
real flowers.
Right.
Like some real flowers.
Well, I'm in high school. You need to send no real flowers.
Why not?
What?
I didn't have no money to be. You gonna ask your mom?
He has money.
Oh, he does got money because you getting paid.
Yeah.
He don't spend it on shit.
He working right now.
Right.
Right on the clock.
He's like, damn, I really could send her something. I got it like that. I ain't got no
What is
bills.
he talking about? Like,
I ain't got no
money.
gas.
He on the
I
clock.
ain't got nothing I have to
bills.
spend.
I miss them days.
I ain't gotta go nowhere.
No bills?
He like, I be at home.
I was in Metro PCS days. Yeah.
If someone would have told me I had to be an adult for this long,
I would have waited
I
as
would've-
long as possible.
Man, that's forever.
man.
Seriously.
The rest.
I would have been
Like,
a
I
Toys
gotta
R Us
be an
kid.
adult for the rest
Like
of my life.
what do you do after being adult? You can't do an adult plus. Nigga,
Right? Like, there should be like a secondary adulthood. Like for
adult
real.
prime
Like
or
pre-adult,
something,
pre-adult.
Like
And
that's
then,
like
like,
adult should be
senior
like-
adult,
Right,
I'm
right.
not even. I'm barely making it in the first.
Facts.
adult nature. Right.
Look,
I ain't even man.
Episode number 41.
welcome back.
Welcome back. Cue the Mace music.
41 for the one.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
We missed y'all.
We did.
We missed everybody. We a little upset. I'm charged up. Isn't that what Drake said?
Yeah,
I'm charged up. I'm a little mad, man. We got snubbed.
Oh yeah, we did.
We
get
got
snubbed.
snubbed. But it's all good. It's all good. This whole year, man, we choosing violence. That's all I got to say.
We got snubbed for podcast
Snug.
of the year.
Yeah,
what
so-
happened?
yeah.
The SAC, was it SAC Trending Awards?
Yeah.
Man, shout out to SAC Trending Awards. We just making jokes.
Yeah.
But on the podcast
Of the year.
of the year award, we got snubbed. Yeah.
I ain't making no jokes.
You got snubbed for photography of the year, photographer of the year.
I ain't making no jokes. That was dumb.
He was like,
It
"It's
was-
me."
It was just too many people bitching.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, why wasn't this person on it? Because you weren't nominated.
Yeah.
You didn't get enough nominations.
Yeah.
Got to put in the work. So I think it's dope what they trying to do. So I'm gonna shout them out. And yeah, that's why we choosing violence all year this year. So brand new year, brand new season 3 of the Reverb Experiment Podcast. We have some special guests with us today. First, we want to go over what we're going to talk about on the episode. We're going to go through an interview with the co-owners of SAC Connect. We're going to talk about Antonio Brown and mental health and mental wealth. We're also going to talk about Nick Cannon and him competing with toys. And we're not talking about the toys you get from, Target or Walmart, you know what I mean? So,
you get these
and
from
then we're going to
Simpsons.
talk about some special content that moving forward in a later date will be exclusive to those that support the podcast. But before we do that, we want to thank everybody that has been supporting us via social media, via YouTube, etc., etc. We have a brand new website,
Yes.
reverbexp.com. Check it out. You can see all of our content, videos. You can leave reviews. You can actually leave us a voicemail that we will play on the air. You can also register as a guest. So if you do want to be a part of the Reverb Experiment Podcast, just email us, hit us up, get in contact, and we'll go ahead and get it popping. But we definitely want to make sure that we thank the listeners, because if it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't be here. So give y'all a round of applause. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get...
Applause. That was
That was
outstanding.
a long
Hey,
shot.
Hey,
That was-
it
I
was
thought they
deserving.
beat me like
It was
that.
deserving.
I was sitting there trying. I thought it was really rude if I was gonna say something interrupting the class. It's like, damn.
Come on, Clara.
So like Kanye.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. So before we get into the interview, how y'all been on the break?
I did great. I really took time to myself, did what I needed to do to spend time with family.
Photo?
It was something. It was something. It was life. Some ups and downs, and some side and sides. You
Ups
feel me?
and
But
downs,
we rocked with
smiles
it.
and frowns, right?
We here. That's really all that matters.
What about you?
it was interesting.
It was.
I miss y'all though. But the holiday
early.
season was,
Yeah, it
You
was
know?
nice not to have to,
Deal with
you know.
y'all.
I wouldn't say
with
all
y'all.
of that.
I would.
It was nice. It was nice spending time with family and taking a little bit of a break. But we're back. I'm excited to be back. I miss
too.
podding, so it's therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of therapeutic and therapy, we are going to introduce very special guests to us. They are committed to doing the work in the community. I've been going on after we actually connected and talked, and I looked at all the events and the wellness events and the health events, and they are definitely doing the work. And this is the reason why we did this podcast, because we wanted to bring light and give people their flowers while they're still here, to people that are committed to helping the underserved, underrepresented, people that need the help the most. So we are going to introduce both Shanice and Chenee from SAC Connect on the Reverb Experiment Podcast. We're going to give them a long applause.
Yeah, go ahead with that.
What we doing?
Thank you for being on. We appreciate y'all spending time on a Saturday to come connect with us. So we're going to go ahead and let y'all introduce, because y'all got a rap sheet as long as a CVC, what's it, CVS receipt.
We're all
With the
rewards.
coupons at the
With
end.
the coupons at the end. That just means that y'all certified. But we're going to let y'all introduce yourself and then just give us a little insight for the people that have not heard about SAC Connect. What is SAC Connect and what is it about?
Okay. So I'm Shanice.
And I'm Chenee.
And we are SAC Connect. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization serving the greater Sacramento area. Our focus is transitional age youth, young adults, underrepresented.
People of color.
People of color. So
Don't forget that.
Black and brown communities. And so, we pretty much met and we shared some similarities when it came to, our own mental health struggles, and thought what perfect way to connect than to give back to youth and young adults and start the dialogue about mental health and overall wellness. So
That's good.
Much needed.
Much needed.
Much needed. So we're going to go ahead and get into the interview because we don't like beating around the bush. So you guys already told us what SAC Connect's about. So I just found out that it was kind of aha moment. So the name.
Okay.
I heard Saw SAC, so I'm thinking 916
I'm thinking
Sacramento.
Okay,
Connected.
so I am a Sacramento native. She is not. She actually grew up in Monterey.
Okay.
California still.
Still
California.
California, on the west side. Okay.
But we did connect in Sacramento. But the SAC of SAC Connect actually stands for our names, Shanice and Chenee, and we connected.
Got
So
To start
SAC
this
Connect.
business. So
Got it.
it's all about connections. That's our motto. We go for collaborative connections in the community. So that's what we go by. Any program, any event.
Yeah,
collabing.
we became licensed clinical social workers together. We actually did clinical supervision together. We've worked in some of the same arenas together since meeting in 2015.
Nice.
So it's definitely been a nice 7-year journey for us in our professional and personal careers. So
Dope. Okay. So then you guys have been working for a while, and I'm assuming that's what kind of led to you guys getting started was seeing a need and then just feeling the need, right? Or is there more to that story than
There's more. We
Okay.
were actually at a job orientation, and you know how jobs say, icebreaker, line up by your birthdays. And I was like, I just know I'm the first one in March. Like, I'm going to be the only one in March. And then she came behind me, and so we're like, so when's your birthday? When's your birthday? We're born 5 days apart.
Oh.
but I'm
A year. She's a year older.
Yeah, so-
But then we just connected, and then that's just how we started talking. And we were remembering when we were transitional age, how we didn't talk about mental health. Like the first time we started talking about mental health was when we got in college, when we started entering our profession. So we were like, we wanted somebody who looked like us. And so we were just like, you want to start a business? All right, cool.
Hey, look,
Because doing it by yourself is hard. So we were like, we could split it, and what I don't know, she knows, and so we've just been connecting and collaborating ever since.
That's dope.
Yeah, that is
dope.
dope.
I like that.
And I think our personalities we're kind of go-getters. So we saw a need and we were like, how are we going to fulfill this need?
Right,
and
right.
we just went head in and just,
Now we're here.
now we're here.
That's
Got
the
it.
way to go about it. You see a need and feel it, not just, talk about it or complain about it. Do something.
Facts.
Yeah.
You know?
Facts. Yeah. So, we're gonna get to a topic that is pertinent to what's going on now. I know we talked about it off air a little bit, but we want to get into it and kind of just get this interview popping. So, from your perspective, how has the pandemic altered the mental health landscape amongst young people?
You want to take this?
Oldest first.
So I hear this word crisis, floating around, mental health crisis. Pandemic is bringing out a mental health crisis. And for us, fortunate and unfortunately, it's not a crisis to us. It's just shown a brighter light on mental health because we're home, we're isolated, we're seeing higher numbers in suicide, but the diagnosis in the mental health has always been present. And we just haven't had those open dialogues with our youth, with our young adults, even with older adults, being isolated, being at home, working from home now all the time, not being or engaging with other adults. You start to bring out your mental health symptoms a little bit more. And that's why we don't see it as a crisis. We just see it as a light being shown a little bit more in this arena.
Yeah.
Now with youth and young adults and just lacking that social engagement, most students go to school for 8 hours a day, right? So withdrawing from that daily routine has definitely been very impactful just in our programs.
Correct. And then they're relying on social media for their interactions. And then it brings up, like, I know all these trends that are going on with TikTok trends. When they do get to the school, they're vandalizing stuff and they don't know how to communicate their feelings. Now they don't really have that outlet that they used to have being in school all the time. And now they're stuck at home. So it's just really heightening what's already been happening in the home, and it's just bringing light to it. And another trend is that now that people are seeking help or it's becoming more in the open, there's not enough services for them to go to. There's not a lot of youth providers because they feel like it's adults who only seek it, or it's only adults that are diagnosed with mental health disorders. But a lot of youth are dealing with anxiety, depression, and other diagnoses related to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm following you. So it's more or less, it was just a flashlight that just exposed what was already there that people kind of not turned a blind eye to, but weren't aware of.
Yeah, and the dialogue wasn't there before pandemic.
Right.
And then you got an increase in substance use because you're home, and increase in a lot of other daily triggers because you're home and isolated.
Right.
I think too, like, you didn't have that outlet that you had before. Like, it's kind of easy to ignore symptoms or ignore what you're going through if you could just
Have a distraction.
that them distractions was gone.
That's a good point. That's a good point. When you got to sit with yourself and you're not as busy or not as distracted as what you were before, then you kind of forced to deal with what was already there.
Especially people who don't have anything to like do at home.
Yep.
Because a lot of people some people actually wanted to escape to the house, but now everybody's at the house, so you can't really escape.
I mean, that's how I felt. I'm like, I'm a homebody, but come on now. I do want to go outside sometimes.
You want to have the option. At
Yeah,
least.
you know what I mean? I'm like, it's different when I'll be like, oh, no, y'all ain't coming. Now I ain't got nowhere to go. That's a different feeling.
That's fact.
Right. I wanted the option to say no.
I
You know
could have
what
went
Now
out.
I'm forced to say no.
You know? And even before, like, I could have went out, but, I see my friends. I'm like, oh, y'all had a good time. I would have came next time. Now it's like, dang, y'all at home too? Ain't nobody doing nothing.
Yeah. I think I remember like when it first hit during the lockdown, like we were fighting on who would go to the grocery store. They'd be like, I don't want to be home. So we're like, oh, I'm going to make a run. Like, no, you're not. It's my turn.
Seriously.
So, no, I mean, right when it first hit, like, because remember, it was like a lockdown. Then it was like, oh, it's easing up. Then it was another lockdown. Then it was easing up. It's like, man, it's like, all
And
right.
just imagine summertime,
lockdown was
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
So, winter, we expect seasonal depression, right? But then you're going through it in the summertime when it's nice outside, when you're supposed to be outside, right? And so,
Yeah, that was tough because it was kind of like that Squidward meme when he's looking out the window and Patrick and SpongeBob were all like laughing. Because I was seeing friends still traveling, having fun. Because I'm seeing these cheap airplane tickets. Man.
And you the one trying to be
responsible.
Safe.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I did go to Vegas to see Usher, but
Yeah, we was
other
traveling.
than
I went to
that,
Cancun.
We was traveling.
Yeah, we traveled a little bit, but it's still about taking the safety precautions.
Right.
While you're doing so, following the recommendations
Exactly.
and the guidelines. And I think the difficult thing for youth is that they really don't have a choice like adults do.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, no, you got to stay at home. At least an adult, you could go drive your car,
Yeah.
you could do those store runs and
Yeah.
stuff. But the youth is just kind of like, no, you
Yeah.
can't go see your
They're
friend.
dependent on somebody else.
you can't go to your
Exactly.
friend's house. You can't spend the night. You can't. Yeah,
That's true. That's true. And I don't think
Sports. That really triggered me.
Oh, yes.
Because I was an student athlete. So when they canceled like playoffs and stuff for basketball and all of that, I was going to go protest with them. Like, because I was like, oh no, y'all can't take this from them. Like, this is their outlet. Like, that's the only reason I even went to school half of the time was so I could be eligible. So,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
And like I was like when that hit, I was thinking about like the juniors and seniors that that's their years to be recruited to go to get scholarships.
I think we shed a couple of tears. We had 2 staff on our that were seniors who had to stop playing basketball. They were
Graduation canceled. Not
graduation
that many people
canceled.
can go.
See, even graduation, man.
and missing those kind of milestones. Like when I think back to my high school years and those, senior picnic and that was
senior trip.
The
That's
senior trip. Don't forget the senior trip now.
And it's like to think
Disneyland.
that they didn't get to get that.
See, not everybody experienced Disneyland. But I did. I know what you meant. Shut down for all the seniors, like
Senior
okay.
ditch day.
Senior ditch day.
You know what?
all
I
that.
did ditch.
All you could do is ditch your Zoom. Like, come on, like
Right.
I'm logging out.
I'm
That's
not
the
logging in.
bill.
Some of them didn't even get prom.
Yep,
and
no
stuff.
prom.
It's like
Most
that
of them
kind of
didn't.
stuff. Those is memories that I really cherish, and it's
Senior
like,
prom.
And they're not gonna get it back.
Oh, and
because
just
of this.
imagine an incoming freshman
yeah.
Well, that's what my daughter went through.
and that experience.
year high
Because she missed her 8th grade trip, and then going into freshman year, it was all on Zoom.
Yeah, that's not the same. I feel like that's like the going into high school. That's like the most exciting. That's the thing you look forward to.
Rites
in
to
your school
passage.
career.
It was
It's a
tough.
rite of passage.
It's a
There
rite
you
of
go.
passage.
It was definitely tougher because you're starting your high school. Those all those grades count, and like you doing it on Zoom.
Yeah.
But then you have to remember all the guidelines were changing. So yeah, we're on Zoom. Next week we might. Oh, we're going to be in person. And can you imagine how that was impacting their academic
God.
performance?
Exactly.
Different learning styles for different students, and then you have to try to learn virtually when
Yeah.
you really can't understand in person. You don't get that one-on-one time anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
of course they're depressed. I'm not getting good grades no more. I can't go to college. Like
Yeah.
so many different factors. That
It's tough.
play
It's
into that.
tough. And then just transitioning from like on Zoom, like most schools that I've heard from were like giving students the freedom, like as long as you turn it in before 11:59. So my daughter was like, okay, cool. And I'm just
11:58
like,
turn in.
nah, you ain't doing that. I say, you need to make sure it's done. She's like, oh, but I ain't gonna. And then now you're going back to school. Now you have to go back to
Relearn.
being in person, turning it in on, you know what I mean? So
Deadlines.
yeah, it's tough. I know if I get one more email from Elk Grove School Unified, good Lord.
I actually didn't even think about that on that aspect because some kids were starting their first years of actual school around this time. So some of them are actually being highly affected with their learning abilities.
Yeah, like how do you Zoom with kindergarten?
I have little ones who don't even know that school does not require a mask normally.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
Right.
That's the norm for them.
That's the norm.
yeah, yeah, and we're talking about the middle school, high school, but yeah, like you said, 5,
The little
6,
kids.
7-year-olds. How do you learn? Like it's hard. Like it's hard to get a kid to sit still. Period.
Right.
And
Without
then you-
cocoa melon or something. No.
Right.
And even then, that's short lived.
Oh my Lord.
So yeah, how do you engage younger grades via Zoom?
You don't.
I don't see it. I don't see how it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And imagine the
I
younger
went
kids
through
without
it.
that support of
At
their
home.
parents on the computer and how to use it and all those different things. That's another.
Or the parents don't even know how to use the systems.
Yeah.
Or what if the
So
parents?
we all just lost.
Because there's no way.
Because that was the thing I didn't understand. So if parents got to work, then who's?
Who's monitoring their school?
Yeah.
Yeah. No
Because
one.
little kids, if you have little ones, there's no way that they could be going to school if you aren't there helping them do
Yeah,
it.
mine don't know how to unmute. Like
They don't know.
you asking questions,
Like,
they
what
can't even
else
answer.
right.
Yeah.
Falling asleep on camera, you can't.
Distracted.
So
right?
yeah, I think we got off, but
Yeah, we got.
No, I think that's all relevant. I think that's all relevant.
relevant.
That's all relevant. I think when you start unpeeling the layers and you start realizing how deep, and I don't think, years to come, we might not see the effects of that until, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line. So
That's true.
yeah,
and and we're still technically still in the pandemic, so it's not like it's over.
yeah. 2 years later, having the same conversation.
Same conversation. So, yeah, okay. Well, obviously, you guys have already answered the question that we're going to ask next, because the Surgeon General basically said that it was a mental health crisis with all the stats and all the statistics. But obviously, stats and statistics are reported. So if it's not reported, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just that is just now we're more aware of it.
Now
so
it's more reported.
It's documented.
Yeah, 1.5
now.
of us carries a diagnosis. I mean, if we go off of statistics,
right.
So.
And I think we have to realize, because I know in the pod that we like to give statistics, but in real life examples, a statistic doesn't mean real life
It doesn't
representation.
apply. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't apply. I mean, African Americans are not reporting diagnoses.
Correct.
So are we even a part of that statistic that they're collecting?
Yeah, right.
So it's probably
Or brown,
underreported right now. So those statistics might even apply to our communities.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah. Okay. Well, the next question, since we are talking about parents and we're talking about children, for the parents that are listening and watching, what are some ways that we can help and support our children through the difficult times that we're going through right now?
Dialogue. So starting the dialogue at home in the space where they're most safe. So, I mean, who does not feel they're most secure at home, right? So if you can't have this open dialogue with your parents or siblings about mental health, then how do we expect them to then go out and be able to freely express their wants, their needs, their thoughts to other people? So starting the dialogue, and then also parents unpacking your own issues and your own trauma and learning healthy coping mechanisms, because we run across students all the time. My mom came home, she had a bottle of wine and she, and it's like, okay, they're learning these coping skills, these unhealthy coping skills. And so just unpacking ourselves so that way we can be that support for our children and our youth. Because what they say on a flight, take care of yourself before you put your mask on. Yeah. So you have to make sure that you are unpacking your own trauma before you can actually, give back to your youth.
And then we also wanted to highlight listening to your children, talking
that's
to
a whole
them,
nother episode.
and paying attention to nonverbal cues. You are the caretakers, your children the best. So sometimes they don't actually have to say I'm sad or something's wrong with me. You could tell when they're moping around or if they're not eating their favorite snack or watching their favorite show. It's just kind of check in with them, tap in with them. Hey, I noticed that this is going on. You all right? You good? Do we need to go somewhere?
And realize also that not all the time is it present. You're not going to always see the signs. Right. And so that's why we say opening the dialogue to normalize the conversation.
Right.
If we're saying, how are you doing? We don't leave it at fine, good. What does that mean? Because good for me and good for her might look totally different. Good for me is getting out of bed. Good for her is I went on a walk today.
Right.
So going beyond that initial conversation, that initial conversation of just opening it, but actually expanding on it.
That's good.
And then educating yourself about mental health or how to ask age appropriate questions, because sometimes parents, you think you're talking to your homie, I asked you, was you straight? And then the kid's what's that mean? What do you mean, am I straight? Yeah, I'm standing up straight. Or, it's just our understanding of different terminology is different depending on your age.
That's good. Hold on, we're going to get That's good.
Learn their language too.
I think could we talk about that in a different way? When we're talking about when you're dating or in relationships, when we say, I remember me and you had the conversation where we're even in your finances. When I say I'm good, my good is different than your good. Because your good could mean that all the bills are paid. My good is that bills are paid, there's a savings account, there's an emergency fund, and we investing. So how you grew up defines what your good is. So for us, when you ask a kid, are you good? Like you said, it could just mean that I just got out of bed and I went to school today. But no, my good is, do you feel good? Do you feel present? Do you feel like yourself? Like, are you happy? Like, you know what I mean? So I think we do got to dig a little bit deeper than just a check and go. It needs to be, hey, how was your day? What happened? How was your friends? Unpack that, yeah, and just see what's going on, because you know we all, like, I know I try to do it as much as I can. Like, I try to think back to when I was in school. Some of the things that us as parents may not deem as important to kids are very important. Like, their social life is extremely important. So if they stop talking to one of their best friends, that could be like the most devastating thing ever, because that's their friend, you know what I mean? And for us, could be like, oh, you're going to get a new friend next week. Or, you know, like, by the time you graduate high school, you'll be lucky if you only have 2 good friends or 3 good friends. But it's like, to them, that they ain't hearing that, because it's like, well, that's my life. When I go to school, my friends, my circle, you know what I mean? So we got to be a little bit more, just have more perspective, and just, like you said, listen.
More empathy.
And just imagine a school day, right? Like, you could have had drama with this friend group. This teacher could have got on your nerves. And then, like, I didn't even eat lunch today because I had to go do this.
Or the lunch wasn't good.
Or the lunch wasn't good, right? Yeah. But then when you walk in the house and your mom say, oh, how was school? It was all right.
Right.
But you just all right. Like, you
just went through that whole day of, and it was all right.
Well, me looking back at it, you usually say all right because there was so much going on. And there was almost no point in saying anything because they're not going to understand.
Well, but if we're opening that conversation on a daily, then that's where it starts.
And helping them work through it. And actually, I feel like as parents, we have to understand that we feel like we have real life problems, like bills and what we go through, and we kind of minimize what they go through. And you can't do that. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, oh, that ain't nothing. You'll be, you can't do that, because it's not going to help them open up further. Right. You know what I mean? Or feel comfortable talking about the things that they go through if they feel like it's not that important.
Yeah, you can't belittle their issues, because their issues are their issues.
It's big to them.
And it's valid. For where they are in their age, it is very valid.
Very valid.
Yeah. No, all good point. Even if, like, you get an email from, like, the teacher, like, don't automatically side with the teacher. Like, let me hear what your side of it is, because you may have a valid point, and it may have been what, you know what I mean? Like, we always, not always, but most parents will automatically side with the adult in the room instead of, like, hearing what the kid has to say. Because I've been in that situation.
I think even with, like, smaller kids, I feel like we kind of minimize what they're going through, because to little kids, they might be crying because their toy broke. And of course, we look at that as trivial, but for them, at their age level, that's
big.
That is major.
You got to help them work through them feelings.
You got to realize that they haven't been through the things that we've been through, and so the importance of certain things is a lot bigger to them, because they haven't been used to more.
Well, and how a child unpacks their emotions and how an adult unpacks their emotions are the same exact way. We just minimize what they're going through because the impact that it may or may not have, right? So most adults are, unpacking, like, financial struggles or relationship problems or things like that. So a broken toy
that's a relationship right there.
But that's a relationship.
If my car breaks down, I'm going to be flipping the same way that the toy breaks.
Exactly. Imagine the emotions you go through when your car breaks down. Or imagine the emotions that a child goes through when their favorite toy breaks.
Right, exactly.
Same
no,
thing.
really. So, and that's the thing that I had to start seeing, because, you got to be like, stop crying. You ain't got nothing to cry about. But it's like, I feel like that's the early stages of learning how to
master your emotions.
Manage your emotions.
And then that stresses the importance of routines. Just so that they know that it's expected. So if they had a bad day, they know that
when
I come in this door, she's going to ask me what's wrong, and I'm going to be able to talk about it.
Yes.
And she accepts it, or he or she or whoever's caretaker accepts it, and I know that I'm going to get to process all what I went through during this bad school day when I get to the crib.
Absolutely. I think that's what you guys, that point is key, because how can you teach our children to validate their feelings when you're not validating their feelings?
Exactly.
If they don't have a safe space at home, then where do they have a safe space to do that to?
It used to be school too.
Yeah. Used to be.
Like, you remember a favorite teacher where if you was having like drama at school, you go to that teacher and then you just spill the beans, and it's a safe space where they're acknowledging what you're going. They might not agree with you.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
they
y'all had
gonna
that
they
teacher?
gonna
Oh, I
hear
had that teacher.
Oh yeah, I used to go
Miss
in
McGee,
recess
shout
because
out.
they would
Miss
give gummy
McGee.
bears. Like, I just want gummy bear, but let me tell you what happened with this girl.
Yeah.
Or this teacher had me messed up. You know, like
it was Mr. Arbogast for me. Remember
Oh,
him?
she got the
Yeah.
name.
I can
See?
see Miss
I mean,
McGee.
dope.
He was
Miss
cool.
McGee, Valley High, shout out.
You didn't have one?
Shut up.
Nope. I had a favorite teacher, but not one. It was like more of a it was fun. We used to prank each other in the classrooms, and it's just all that.
Maybe that was your outlet.
That was your outlet. She
Yeah.
just
No,
highlighted
just
it.
a different way.
But I know
But yeah, but it wasn't like someone to where I would go to
Did
and
you have
talk to me things
like
like
a
that.
What about a coach,
or
sports
Nah, I
coach, or
wasn't-
anything,
nah, I
or
wasn't-
photo teacher, or anything?
Nah.
No, nothing.
No, nothing.
Well, then maybe
Nothing.
yours was at home. Did you have somebody at home?
Yeah, my dad.
Okay, so
well,
there you have it. We're saying
didn't have that at
versus
home.
At home,
Yeah,
there's
because some people
who
don't have it at
school.
home. So they had the only place they had to was school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's why it's
And that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, right.
And some people don't eat at home, but they eat at school. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's
Like,
so
that's
much.
man.
yeah.
Yes.
That's why they were giving out the free meals and the EPEB.
Right.
There's a
and the free
PEBT
computers
and all
to
that.
Exactly.
try to accommodate what they're requesting, but then it may not even fix the situation.
Does
Yep.
Yeah,
No.
that's another conversation.
Ooh, Lord. We're just unpacking it today. No, but thank you for that good point. I think as parents, if you're listening, please listen.
Yes.
Listen. And sometimes it just don't even have to interject. Sometimes you just need to vent and you don't need to hear nothing back. It's just, I want to be seen. I think everybody wants to be seen. At home, especially. At home is where you should be seen the most.
I think, well, just one more point. I think that our community has gotten into the mindset of preparing our kids for the world and being tough on them because the world is going to be tough on them, but home needs to be where they
Soft.
exactly, because that's where else they're going to get it from. So I just want to say that
I
because I see
concur.
that a lot.
I concur.
That's a
I
good
see
point.
that a
No,
lot.
that's a
We
good
wanna
point.
toughen
Because I
our
had a
kids up.
tough parent who instilled hard work, and you need to, win all the time. Win. If you're not winning, then you're losing, and that's not the mindset you should
Oh, my
instill in
God.
your kids.
I
Because-
read a devotional that was talking about not being afraid of failure, and that hit me like a ton of bricks because I've always perfection, work, win. And it's like, and when you don't, then it's like you feel, what I
Failure.
mean? But sometimes you learn the most lessons in your failure.
Yeah, if you're not failing, you're not learning.
Yeah, and then because you're scared of failure, sometimes you don't even try because it's like I would rather be perfect and do it right or not do it at all, and then
Already made up your mind that this is not gonna work.
it's not going to
So-
work. Yeah, like this podcast. If I would have, sometimes we don't do everything right, but it's okay.
It's working.
Y'all seen that movie Encanto?
Not
No.
yet, but I heard it's
Oh yeah,
really good.
yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
Not yet.
No.
They pack a lot of
They
trauma.
do.
That's
They-
what, yeah, that
mental
made
health
me
is
wanna watch
addressed.
it. I was
Yeah.
Isolation
watch it.
and the differences in how siblings are treated.
Perfection.
Perfection.
Man, all them
Being
little,
strong.
all them little kid movies,
Oh, they be hitting.
tears be falling.
No,
and I be
They
like,
really
no,
for
that-
adults. They really for the parents.
No,
yeah, like
Exactly.
what was that movie? Soul.
So
Oh yeah,
man.
really
Man.
for the parents.
Oh my god.
No, and
I like the
Encanto really
message.
had me at the end. I was like, oh. I had to look away. I was like, no, Disney.
I think I learned that the first time with the movie Inside Out.
Yeah,
Oh, that
all
was-
the
Inside Out
movies.
was good.
And
Oh, my
Zootopia.
goodness.
Zootopia.
I was like,
one.
dog, this is deep.
Zootopia
Like, they
was
talk
the
about
one.
racism.
Yes.
Yep. And then there's
Yes.
the other one. Is it Vivo? On
Yeah,
I haven't
With
seen
the,
that
with
one
the,
either.
with the
haven't.
little Kukachu monkey thing.
yes.
I haven't seen that one.
I
That's a
haven't
good
seen
one
Like-
too. It's about like a pet's attachment to their caretaker.
it's deep.
If you have kids, they will watch it over and over because they got some good music on there. You learn the
yeah.
songs.
But then the parents are like, "Oh my
if I hear this
God.
one more time,
No,
Don't
it
talk
be
about
some
Bruno,
good
though.
messages.
Bro, it be some deep messages.
It be the-
Like what's that? What was that Christmas movie with Forrest Whitaker?
Oh,
It was a. It was a.
I know
it was
what
a.
you're talking about.
That was deep too. I was crying on that one too. I ain't gonna lie. I'm
that's
cry.
the whole purpose of movies. To
I'll
try
be
to put a
crying.
message
I ain't
out.
gonna lie.
I'll be
okay.
holding it in.
No, I can't.
That's why you watch movies in the dark, so you can just.
Hey, look, it's a safe space in my home. I'll be crying. My daughter be crying. Oh man, I can't do that at the theater though. Theater, yeah, I'd be like, oh man, that's loud.
It be dark in there though.
Everybody's perfect setting.
Man.
I'm weak.
It's okay to cry. It's okay. To
Yes,
cry.
It is. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, black parents gotta stop saying that.
Yeah.
Stop crying. I'm gonna give you something to cry about. I'm already crying.
I got something to cry about. I wouldn't be crying.
That's why I'm crying.
More do you want?
What more do you want from me?
God. Okay.
Heard that several times.
Oh my Lord. Where we at? Okay, yes. Speaking of, we were talking about the challenges of, cause I know you guys are specifically, and I love this, and I love you guys' shirts. Black therapists are dope. What are some unique challenges that young Black people have to deal with on a daily basis, and what types of programs do you guys have specifically for them?
I'll start. Oh, go ahead. Identity. Okay. And a sense of belonging. Right. For many reasons, historical reasons, family reasons, just upbringing. We struggle with trying to create our own identities in amongst pop culture, right? So those adolescent years where we're supposed to be developing into this transitional human, this transitional responsible adult, we're unpacking trauma, we're unpacking difficult emotions, and we're trying to find a space that really fits us, right? And we see this in like the high school students where they just want to belong somewhere. They want, you have the student athletes, you got the art kids, you got the band kids, and so high school has nurtured this space of you need to belong somewhere instead of nurturing a space where you can belong everywhere.
Yep.
Or nowhere at all.
Yeah.
I was everywhere.
So,
Yeah.
but that's traditionally how, I mean, look at friend groups and friend circles and even just your own friend groups. Like there are certain interests, right? And people are like, go with it. So throughout adulthood, right?
Even at the lunch tables.
At lunch.
Yeah, lunch
Like
table.
you have to belong somewhere instead of saying, no, you don't need to belong somewhere. You can figure it out day by day or not figure it out at all.
Yeah.
You don't have to. So I think that identity struggle, that identity crisis is really impactful to our youth.
And then another thing is just like being their age, being in their age role. Like they're taking on many other responsibilities. Most of them, I mean, this has been going on for a while, but taking care of their younger siblings where they don't get to be a kid and do what they like to do. Another thing is just, like she said, social media influences. That is one of the biggest things I will have to say is just trying to keep up with whatever's hot.
Yeah.
So if it's like, oh, you put hot sauce on your mouth and do all this,
Yeah.
what do you? Most of the kids in the middle school, and everything, they're gonna be doing that. So it's just kind of like
man.
if they were doing stuff that were detrimental to your mental health,
Yeah.
you don't think these youth or these young adults are gonna try it out just to say, hey, hashtag this,
Yeah.
like I did that.
Yeah.
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 I remember somebody was saying that, like, oh, TikTok has ruined these kids. Like, man, we was doing challenges before this. We've been doing challenges.
we just weren't documenting it.
Right.
Nobody was taking
Right. Nothing different. It's just that
But
it's
we
just
was
upgraded.
stupid.
Right.
We were.
Right.
We
But-
did
I
some
be
stupid
thinking
things.
back like, girl.
But you do got to acknowledge the negative impacts that social media has.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like I think we talked about even just the filters on how, like, without even knowing how it, gives you the slim European nose, how it lightens up your skin, how it gives you, the contouring and all this other stuff to the point where, as a young woman, because I'm a dad, so there is no social media at this age for me, just because I want her to, keep her sense of identity. But I think you can get lost in an internet identity and trying to be something that everybody else wants because you want the likes, because you want the acceptance, and it can become, you can kind of have like a dual consciousness where you live in two totally different lives.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're in the house, you acting one way, but then on the internet, you the being funny, you the comedian, or you know what I mean? And it's like you can't be dual minded. It needs to be who you are is who you are in the world, on the internet, wherever you go, and it's okay to be you. You don't have to put on a filter to look beautiful, which I know some people don't do for that reason, but I'm just saying, I think the messaging should be that you are enough. You're
Except
okay.
in the-
You are
in the
beautiful.
formative years.
Yeah. In those years, especially because we see how just the older, just even as young adults, 21, 22, 26, 27, how it
Shoot,
affects them
30.
too. 30.
See, 30-year-olds like,
Yeah, though the media identity has definitely created a standard that people can't live up to in the natural form.
Exactly.
And so with youth and young adults having that as an outlet during a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine for 2 years living through your social media and then now having to go be yourself.
Yeah.
yep.
And that's how you check on your friends and family. Like, oh, I see what they posted. Oh, yeah, my friends are doing this. Here I come.
Yeah.
So it's very influential. And then another trend we do see is that a lot of young people are being hospitalized. So 5150 for depression, suicide attempts, due to being isolated. They don't know how to deal with their emotions, and they can't. They tell their parents something, and the only thing to be like, "Oh, I'm taking you to the hospital because you said this," and it's not that open dialogue like we said earlier, where they have a space to talk about it.
Right. So what? Because I know this is your guys' area, and you guys do an amazing job. So what specific programs or what have you guys implemented to kind of help combat some of that?
So, well, I'll start with our Youth Connect groups. We have Youth Connect group at 3 different schools right now, where we gather youth and young adults who may be experiencing some academic struggles, but along with some identified maybe behavioral or mental health, primarily African American females. So sorry guys, but you guys have your own programs on these campuses. So we gather a group of young women. They have facilitators, they have mentors, and we unpack. We weekly. We meet weekly and we do self-care regimens. We teach them what we call a wellness wheel, which is like overall wellness. So physical health, mental health, social, emotional. And we open the dialogue at school. We also have conversations with the parents and, invite them to, offer any support that they can to the groups. But this is a safe space for our youth of color to come and let it all out. If that's what they need, let it all out. If they just want to come and socialize, come and socialize.
Right.
But so that's what we've started. We also have our wellness events, our free wellness events.
Every second Saturday, we do free workouts for the community. And that is where families and youth could come out and get a free workout. Like we say, we always promoting wellness.
Right.
So it's a way to socialize and still be fit.
Right.
So our upcoming one, we're doing Shades of Brown in honor of Black History Month.
Nice.
And so we're encouraging anybody to come. I know we're going to talk about it later, but we're encouraging people to wear their Shades of Brown workout gear and come get this work with us.
Right.
And then
what we saw just in the pandemic years is increase in substance use among adolescents. And so we do have a program. It's stimulant use disorder, which covers several different drugs. Stimulants are a variety: cocaine, meth. So we have a program that outreaches to youth and young adults on the damage that this substance stimulant use can cause. We actually have a wellness fair this summer that we're putting on at Esther Park. And so we just, invite people who are interested in those areas to connect with us and see how they can support, our programs.
And then we also offer things where we know that youth want to get out the house. So we do volunteer opportunities. So like last December during winter, we did a homeless hygiene care kit drive where we collected gloves, socks, hand sanitizer, masks. We gave out gift cards, and then we invited youth to come put them together at our office. And then we went in heavily unhoused areas to distribute them to the unhoused community. And that was very beneficial for the youth to see that, to appreciate where they're coming from now, and to give back. And then normally, pre-COVID, we would always have some type of volunteer opportunity for a youth to come out or another wellness event. We do Zumba in the park. We do a lot of different activities that are youth focused, youth led. And so We just go with what the need of the community is.
Well, and not to mention, most of our staff are youth.
Yep.
So we employ youth as well. So if you're looking for a job,
You just gotta be able to have a work permit.
You just gotta be able to get a work permit. But
Right.
we employ our youth and young adults to implement the programs. I ain't gonna say our ages, but we definitely like to.
In my head.
We definitely like to make sure that youth are the ones who are putting on the activities for their generation.
I like that.
I like that part, yeah.
I like that.
To empower them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And then it kind of exposes them to see what the needs are and hopefully encourages them to go into the same field or, at least be aware of it.
Yeah, and they can relate to the youth better than us since we're not their age. So we're just like, you tell us what you
We
need.
learn so much every time we meet with our youth, even our workers, but just our youth in the community. They have, we need to write a dictionary for youth. Every year.
Yeah.
It's a new language.
Yeah.
Like the language, the slang, just the new things that they're into, they need their own dictionary.
Yeah, they do. And it keeps you young.
No, it's not even urban dictionary.
Some of the stuff is new.
It's different.
But it keeps you young though.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it keeps you in the knowledge of what they're doing. Like I saw they were doing a jerk on TikTok. So I asked, I was like, you know how to do the jerk?
And that's not even the jerk, it's the reject.
The reject.
They got to get the correct
They
dance.
gotta get the correct term down. But I asked, I said, you know,
It's okay,
do
I
that
forgot,
again?
honestly.
And then she was like, yeah. And then she was like, I was like, you know where that came from? And then she was like, why? I was like, okay. So it's a way to connect.
Yes.
It's a way to connect too. So
I love how you
I'm
keep
waiting for them
saying
to bring
connect. That connect.
Because
You just
because
love
you have
connect.
to. Well, to me, honestly, life is all about your relationships and your connections.
Yep.
Really, that's really what it is. And as far as black people, black and brown people, we're very tribal. Even though we, live in the westernized, we're still by the heart, we are tribal people.
We're about community.
We are about community, about, so we have to get back to that core. So I love what you guys are saying. So the wellness program, the Shades of Brown,
Yes.
is February 12th
Yes.
at
McKinley Park.
10:30 to 11:30.
10:30 to 11:30.
And it's free.
It's
Free.
free.
And if you guys need more volunteers, need help?
Nope, we got that
We
covered.
want you to
Just
come
show
work
up.
out.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all heard them?
Show up.
You know I'm ready.
Get your workout on. All right. This is one of my. I think this is a good question because this might lead into a bigger conversation. So, what are? Well, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Before I get to that question, when you guys are talking about the substances,
Yes.
just for the parents listening, what are some of the most common ones that you guys are seeing that youth are gravitating towards?
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
Right now, fentanyl. Suicide rate for fentanyl has quadrupled since the pandemic.
Got you. And that's the
Because it's
same,
laced. Everything is laced with
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
and that's the same drug that
There's a few schools out here who have been impacted by overdoses for fentanyl.
really. Yeah, so parents, if y'all listen, y'all
Educate
need to
yourselves about
keep
it.
that on your radar. Yeah.
I saw a woman that was kind of like bringing awareness to it on TikTok, just kind of like the signs that she saw that she, after the fact, when she knew, she's like, if I would have known ahead of time what the symptoms were, like her, I guess she was like throwing up, it was like different things that she noticed after the fact when she knew, the signs to look for. Definitely be educated on what it is.
I think that's one of the parents don't know what to look for.
Exactly.
So I think what you're saying, educate yourself. I think that's a big,
And we also, we have the gateways, right, where we don't like to talk about it, but they open the door for other substances. So marijuana, when we say, oh, not a big deal, it's just marijuana, but marijuana isn't broken down like how it used to be broken down, so they're lacing it with all meth. I've had a youth addicted to meth because they hit a blunt that was laced with meth.
That's what's happening. Is
You know?
they're lacing it with cocaine, meth, and even cutting stuff with fentanyl. And so then they get addicted. And some of those drugs that they're lacing the marijuana with is very addictive.
Yeah. Well, all of us have heard a story of that's how somebody was addicted. Like DMX, that's supposedly the way that he started on crack cocaine was that, he trusted somebody that he smoked a blunt for and it was laced. And then after that, it was all bets are off. So,
because once you get that high, you want to just keep chasing it
again.
So that's what we've been seeing recently is like, oh, it's just marijuana, or like parents are okay, like with just knowing it's just marijuana. But really, you don't know what your kid is
Where they
receiving,
getting it from,
where they
what
getting it
smoking
from.
with.
And those vape pens, my goodness.
So we like to do prevention. You know, if you go to smoke, make sure you rolling it yourself. You know, like we're not anti. You know, we don't want to come off as anti, but we want to come off as preventative.
As
so
smart,
and that's how you reach the youth. You know, parents don't say don't do drugs. Did that campaign ever work? Like real? No, matter of fact, I'm more interested to do them because
Let me see what they say. I mean,
y'all telling me not to, so it
This
must be some good. Yeah, this must be some good stuff. You know, if you tell alcohol, if you're telling me not to, I think I want to try it now. You know, if you got my personality type, you know, So we're all about prevention.
No, I
and
think that's
safety.
I think that's smart.
I think a lot of parents look at it as if I preach safety, then that means I'm condoning it, and it's not.
Yeah, it's not. And at the end of the day, like whatever household you're in, your kid learns there, right? So yeah, I know dads and moms who smoking blunts, and then trying to tell their kid not to, and it's like,
well, and kids ain't stupid.
They know what
Every
they're
time you go out to the patio, to the porch, and you come back and smelling like Christmas tree, bro, they know what you're doing.
or your mom popping pills every day she get off work. You know, like
Mommy has to take her medicine.
Just making
or
mama
daddy
feel
has to
good.
take their medicine.
They know what they yeah.
Kids are very observant. They could tell when your behavior's changed. Like, did you?
Mama had her Xanax today, so she calm.
They're not calling it that, but they know. Like,
They
smart.
know. Kids know. Kids know. Don't be.
That pill calms mommy. I should take some.
Right.
They look at your coping mechanisms and they mimic that.
More is caught than it is taught. All right. Okay, let me transition this question. So what are 3 misconceptions or stigmas that you guys would like to debunk regarding mental health? I know, only 3. That's why I said 3.
And it's so funny because when we went over these questions, our list was so long for this question.
I'm
It was
sure
like,
it
what's
was.
the top 3? Like, there's not a top.
You know what?
3.
Okay, maybe not top 3. What are the 3 that maybe affect the Black community the most?
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
You know, hey,
I'm not crazy.
I'm not gonna put a number on it. Y'all just go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not crazy.
Okay.
If I have mental health, that means I'm crazy.
or I would, excuse me, I wouldn't be able to do all this if I was crazy. I'm working. I'm this. Just because you're functioning doesn't mean that you can't have.
Yeah, you're just a high functioning mental health person. You know, like, and we hate to throw out labels, right? But the reality is, in clinical terms,
you have to name it.
And you're not crazy. So that's why I say normalizing this conversation will then debunk that crazy theme.
Right.
You know,
Right.
We hear that a lot. I ain't crazy. I can diagnose just about anybody I encounter. And it doesn't have to be a severe diagnosis.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not.
It's not
Photo.
a bad thing.
He already looked.
Yeah, no, he's like,
Yes.
I can I've diagnosed my whole family, and I ain't never even had a conversation with them about it. You know, so it's
what you gotta say?
Oh, nothing. I just want to see who's gonna get diagnosed today.
I already know my diagnosis.
well, and you know a lot of when we do our diagnoses, right? It's a lot of nonverbal. It's a lot of information gathering, right, to come to conclusions. And so it's not about what you see. You can't, you don't have to walk in here and be crying and tell me you're depressed. Just by me unpacking some of the information you give me, I'm going to come to that conclusion. So that's why when I say I can diagnose, I can have a conversation with somebody in a coffee shop and already be like, oh, you probably struggling with a little bit of postpartum, or you're probably struggling with a little PTSD. But because we don't want these labels, we're not crazy. Yeah, we don't need a therapist. We're not crazy. So
I don't need no medicine. That ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah, we talked
That's
about
like the
that.
older folk. That definitely
No.
Because I was the same way.
No.
I was.
That's us today too.
That is.
So, and we like to tell people when we're explaining this to our clients, listen, you take a pill, you do different regimens for your body, right?
Your stomach upset, you're gonna get that Tums, right?
Oh yeah.
You got a headache, what you gonna take? A leave, right?
And for our organic people,
but if you can't get out of bed,
well, I'm gonna give me some turmeric and ginger, and you're gonna do some type
still taking
of
something.
remedy to fix your symptoms. So what's wrong with
Yeah, if you can't
Taking
get out of bed
medicine.
or you hysterically crying and don't know why, how do we address that?
What's wrong with taking something for that?
What's wrong with taking something for that?
I feel like, especially with our people, we feel like you said, we've been told to be strong. And for me in the beginning, it was kind of like, dang, what is my strong black woman gene broke? Like, why is everybody else still able to just get through this and just power through this and I can't? And that was the thing for me that was hard to accept, that we're not supposed to just be powering through.
Yeah, no.
Like, we're supposed to be unpacking these emotions.
Yeah, Black women consider strength as a sign of power and a sign of being a positive. And unfortunately, it's going to be hard to, convince Black women that strength is that's not what it is. Although it's nice to have. It's nice to get through difficult times by saying you're strong. It's even better when you can actually unpack it and then come out on top. And be vulnerable with yourself. And this has nothing to do with other people, just being vulnerable with yourself and convincing yourself, like, no, I don't have to take all of this on myself. I don't have to be strong in this moment.
Right.
I can lean on someone else or rely on someone else.
Right.
That's strength in itself.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. We need to redefine strength.
Yes.
I heard there was a dude that like recruited for, I think it was Navy SEALs. And he said one of the tests that he does is, I forgot exactly what it was. I'm not too sure if they're swimming and they're like weighted down or whatever like that. But he said in that test, if I see the person does not ask for help, he said, then they are no longer qualified for being a Navy SEAL after that. He said, because true strength is asking for help.
When you
and
know.
He said, and if you know that you need help and you're not asking for help, he said, then out in the field, you may compromise our mission.
Self-sabotage.
And he said, so true strength is asking for help when you need it. And he said, if you're too prideful to do that, then I can't have you on my team. I was like, dang. I said,
Imagine how much pride got in the way of just moving forward in life.
Yeah. So that changed my whole perspective on strength. Because we always taught, do it, be independent, make sure you get through it, struggle through it. And it's
Self-made.
self-made.
I don't want to be self-made. I don't want to struggle through it.
wanna
Matter of fact, I
collaborate.
don't want to struggle through it. Matter of fact, you got a hand for. I want help.
We will ignore, or we talk about generational wealth so much, but then when we have generational wealth, I don't want that generational wealth because I got to prove I came from the bottom.
Yep.
I'm like,
Why?
What kind of backwards thinking is that? We talk about
keep saying
generational
that.
wealth, generational curses, but then when your father or your parent before you does well, then you don't want to be too well because you don't want to look like
You
you
don't
got
want
a
to be
silver
connected
spoon.
to that. You don't want to be
That's
connected to
weird.
success. You don't
And
want
I
to be.
say that all the time when I see people promoting generational wealth, but then, excuse me, they putting down people that have generational wealth.
Yeah,
Right.
Ain't that what you trying
that
to
was the
create?
point, right?
You spoiled. You're damn right I'm
Yes.
spoiled.
Oh, you only got that because your mama helped you.
Thank God I had one who
spoon.
could.
That
Yeah.
generational wealth passing down to the next generation and making sure that they
Man.
can come on.
There
now.
was a post that said, I bet you can't share this if your parents purchase a car for you.
Bought your first car. Okay.
I hope I can buy my kids first, second, whatever. Whatever they need.
Y'all know where that comes from, right? That comes from hate.
Yeah.
That
Because
comes
they,
from-
they didn't have it.
That comes from generational hate, right?
Like, well, I had to work
Because
for it, so you gonna need to work for it.
Yeah.
Right, you learn that from haters learn from their parents. Haters learn from their environment. So they're gonna be looking at what everybody else is complaining about and why everybody else got doing this. Oh, you're not gonna call somebody say, "Oh, you were raised with a silver spoon in your mouth." If you haven't heard somebody tell somebody that before.
Exactly.
Right?
You heard it somewhere first.
That's
Right.
That's
And
true.
then once you start just looking at, how people got that shit, if you have an issue with, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's facts. Okay, we gonna
I'm
I'm about to use that term.
That was-
generational hater.
Generational hater.
That's something
We
I-
put
Mama
that.
was a hater,
We said
your
it first.
granddaddy
We
was
putting
a
that
hater.
on our Instagram.
Generational hater.
And we tagging it.
No, I feel like I had to unpack that for a long time because my parents did help me a lot. And I feel like it was something that was always like
It was
seen
a
as-
negative.
It was a negative.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I shouldn't have to feel ashamed about my accomplishments or feel like they're less than because you know
You
what I
got
mean?
help.
I got help. Like that's what my parents were supposed to do for me, or you know what I mean, if they could.
Yep.
So it was something that was just like, And I always felt the need to prove that I was a hard worker, that I had good work ethic, which I did. You know what I mean? But I shouldn't have to prove nothing to nobody.
Well, now at the age that I am, I don't want to work hard. I'm on a track of early retirement. I don't want to work hard. Y'all can have that. Y'all can have the hard work.
That grind mode, that hustle.
No, I don't want to grind.
Team no sleep.
No, I'm sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm finna take a nap.
I'll get back to you. Yeah,
and I think you brought up a good point, is that shame about needing help or having to work harder or vice versa, coming from a silver spoon, shall we say. That's kind of just like the shame associated with, something may be wrong with me. I don't want to tell nobody because they're going to think this. I'm not adequate enough
and why
to
do you feel this way when you had this silver spoon, grew up with this silver spoon?
What do you, and that's the other thing. That's one of the, again, what was you saying? Like one of those myths or whatever about mental health, that you don't have nothing to be sad about. And it's like, it's not about having something to be sad about when it comes to depression or when it comes to anxiety. Like, what do you have to worry about? You got this, and this. And that's how people treat you.
And it's kind of like, how you going to tell me?
How you going to tell me what I'm feeling? And that's one thing, especially as somebody that I feel like is high functioning, even though, like, a lot of times, like, y'all be like, I didn't know that you was going through that, or I didn't know that. And it's like, because I have my own, I can struggles, my own struggles, and I know how to cope. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean I'm not going through.
Right.
You know what I mean? People look at you like, well, you doing this and this and this. When you got time to be anxious? When you got time to have a panic attack?
Yeah, when you brought up that strength, that triggered me, because I'm like, that's what triggered my anxiety, is not being too prideful to rely on other people, and you would internalize it, and then now you feel like you always have to be perfect, and you always have to present perfect to other people, and then when you're going through your struggles, who do you call? Because these people don't know, just like you just said. You guys always say you didn't know I was going through this, or you, and it's like, well, how would they?
Yeah,
and that's why I say it. You know what I mean? Because I want people to start seeing what it looks like. It looks like you think I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm fine. What it looks How you doing?
Nope.
Fine.
Yep.
That's what it looks like.
Yep.
Like at my age, I realized there's a lot more people with anxiety than I thought.
Oh yeah.
And I could see it now. When I see people, I'm like, girl, it's gonna be all right.
It is
thinking it in my head.
I think it's just because you're putting a label on it now. Like people go through all these mental health struggles and have these symptoms, but it's just like you don't know what to call it. But now people are labeling it as like,
well, because there's I don't think we realize there's a spectrum.
Oh yeah,
we just think it looks one way.
Right.
Like if I'm not called in the ball, if I'm not in a ball, like shaking whatever, then that's not as like, it's like no, like I have to even admit now, my perfectionism I think is somewhat of an anxiety. Like if I feel like it's not done a certain way, then the energy to get it done that way is really coming from me having the anxiety about it. Yeah.
I think too, for me, like with panic attacks, because you just think of somebody breathing into a bag, and, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what you
count
picture.
backwards.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm like, it's not like that.
That's how we saw it on TV though.
no, but
That's
what was that show? Elizabeth Bit Them Coming or what? I don't know the name of it.
Sanford and Son.
That's how I viewed it. Like,
that's
he's
how
having
you
a panic
see it.
anxiety
He's having a
attack.
heart attack. Like if I'm not, if my chest not getting tight, that mean I ain't having
Exactly. And so that's why I'm like, I wanted to start talking about it more, because I'm like, it looks different for everybody. Like even for me, when I tell people I have agoraphobia, they think like, oh, you don't leave the house? I'm like, no, that's not what it is. That's not how it manifests for me.
Right.
For me, it manifests in not liking to go places where I've either had an anxiety attack or I think I will have one. So, and that's still agoraphobia.
Yeah.
Because people don't like going in buses or transit. Like there's different places that
where
you can have that.
Yeah.
Trapped, where you feel like I can't leave immediately. And I feel like when I again going to therapy and really unpacking, I was like, wow, like that just really cleared up a lot for me. Like this is a real thing. Like it's just not just me. It's other people too. Like, and I'm like, I ain't got no agoraphobia. I go out the house all the time.
Hence why I say I can diagnose just about anyone I encounter with something, because it is a spectrum. You know,
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Depression is a spectrum.
The more information that you get, the more aha moments are like, you like, okay, I wasn't tripping. Like I wasn't like, you know what I mean? And just, I think when you don't unpack or don't ask a question, just like, what would your quality of life look like if you did know what you're going through? You know what I mean? A lot of times you just deal with it like, well, this is just something I got to just deal with. But what if a therapist or somebody told you, you don't have to deal with it like how you're dealing with it, because how you're dealing with it may be unhealthy.
Exactly.
There may be a healthier way to deal with it.
Right.
So I know we got a little off track. So the first one was I'm crazy.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Was there a
I'm
second?
not crazy.
I'm not crazy. I'm sorry.
And the
I'm not
second
crazy.
one was the meds. Like, I don't need no medication.
Medication, because there's plenty of different medications. There's different dosages, and try one until you
Different remedies.
different
Yes.
remedy. Try
and there's
one.
different combinations. It could be medication, therapy,
Right.
hiking. It could be something
Right,
like
right.
a whole
Self-care,
bunch self-care. It can be herbs. Like, it could be a whole different
Just try it.
regimen.
Prescribe you a hike.
Yeah,
For real.
I've done that.
Drawing, writing,
journaling.
painting. Yeah.
yes.
Rapping, taking pictures, hint, hint.
Okay, then what's the third one?
The third one was the shame or guilt.
Oh, the shame or guilt associated with it. Yes.
Especially when you are affluent or when you appear successful. I find that it is much harder for me to get someone who appears successful to go to therapy. Because they don't want to meet with someone, unpack all this, what they would consider negative emotions, or and make themselves present vulnerable. And I know that was me. For me, that was my issue, was like, I'm not going to go to these people and tell them that, I can't function, like every day normally. I want to still feel and appear powerful.
Right.
Yes.
And so if I go to therapy and I'm telling all these people and I'm crying and literally the first 30 seconds of therapy, I'm in tears. Like, I am crying because it's like something just triggers you to want to be vulnerable in that space, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't at home
No,
or at
yeah.
work
Yeah,
or
yeah,
in
yeah.
social settings.
Yeah.
So.
I'm paying to come over to talk to you. I'm going to let you know what I got to say.
That part.
Or I'm just coming to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
That's
And then
big.
just when somebody actually talks about it, like you saw how when Tyrese was on the social media about how he was feeling about not being able to see his daughter, just even like celebrity, anytime somebody actually talks about it, that shame and guilt, don't shame or guilt anybody for having those feelings.
Yeah,
Like,
what they got to be depressed about. Like they,
that prevents people from wanting to talk about it. So it's just
You
kind of
think I
like
wanna-
changing that
That's what
perception.
I was saying when everybody says we need to have these conversations, but y'all keep tearing down the people that's having the conversations. Like everybody's like going in on Kanye, Jada,
Will.
and I'm like, how y'all gonna sit up here and promote the fact that we need to have these conversations? But every time somebody has it, you picking flaws or reasons of why they not doing it right.
They doing it on Summer Walker,
Or
like
doing
all
too
those
much. Y'all
people.
petitioning for her to not talk no more. Like I just don't see how that's helping. Even if you don't agree with what these people are saying or doing, I feel like you're still hindering the conversation by dragging them.
So the thing is, though,
That you
like,
claim you want people to start having.
majority of the people who are, talking about these people aren't the same people who are talking about we need to have a conversation for mental health.
Some of
You know
them
what I
is.
mean? Most of the time.
She said some of them is.
Most of the time.
I'm friends with them on social media.
Right,
They be
but-
doing the same thing.
Most of the time they see it as entertainment versus
Yeah.
it actually really talking down on them.
But
you
if
know?
somebody struggles your entertainment, like, how is that okay? You got to just be mindful. Like, you wouldn't want, if you were going through that and you were expressing yourself on social media, and then now you a meme.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a thin line.
Especially with our community.
But it's great. It's a
No,
gray
it's
area.
a gray area.
Because our
It's-
community,
it's-
we joke about everything.
But that's a coping mechanism that should, if you were really going through something and you turn it into a joke, that's not healthy.
That is yeah.
Correct.
That's how
So
we cope.
sometimes it's healthy when you can get past it, like after you've unpacked it, and now you can joke about it. But if you turn it into a joke before you've unpacked it, then that's not healthy. And that's what a lot of people do in the Black community is we got to joke about it. We got to make light of the situation.
Like Tommy on Martin. How you didn't know he wasn't hurt that nobody knew where he worked at. It's just like making, now you Tommy now. So it's just like how we make light of situations when people probably really are going through it.
Yeah, there is gray. But I would agree.
I'm getting there. Slowly but sure. I think too, like you said, I think the way people can become more empathetic and the way people could really support others is honestly unpacking their own. Because once you start unpacking your own stuff, you start getting more empathy for other people. That's just how it was for me, because I'm like, if I'm going through all this, if I'm unpacking all this, I know I'm not the only person. So
Right.
it just makes me feel differently about other people.
Right. And then how you approach people after
Yeah.
that.
After that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think learning not to take things personal, because sometimes people are, the way they express themselves has nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Not
mean?
at all.
And
No, it almost all the time has nothing to
Yeah.
do with who they're interacting with.
Unless they
versus-
say, I got a problem with you. You
Right,
made
right,
me
right, right.
that.
Well, but even in that, like, if I vacillate or somebody vacillates, even if I'm directing my anger towards you, it may
It's
not
not-
have nothing to do with you.
Right.
It could be
or what you did.
that I'm frustrated and that's just all coming out, and you were just in the way at the time.
That's true.
People got to start unpacking the things that they project on others. And I know that's something that I started like really being intentional about, because especially with social media, I think social media could be triggering in a lot of ways because you're exposed to so many different things. But I started asking myself, like, when I would scroll and something would bother me, I would really take a moment and be like, why does that bother
Why does
you?
it bother
Right.
you?
Why does that bother you? And
Why
I
is
would
the
really
best-
ask myself, like, why did that trigger you? Like,
Why-
why did you?
Why is the best question?
Why is the best question
Why?
to ask for sure?
Yeah.
Why does that bother you? And why do you feel like you need to say something about it? And I really started to see more about myself than what people were posting.
Right.
I had moments where I was going to say something. I was like, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah.
Delete
No.
it.
Be
I have
halfway
written
through what I said.
whole posts, and just like,
Oh, I've definitely
No.
done that.
Never mind. It's not that
Delete.
serious.
I've
I just
definitely done that.
unfollow, like, I don't like
Yeah,
this
no.
content.
And once you ask yourself why, you really feel like, okay, maybe this
It's more
person could
about
go,
me.
or maybe it's just, something about me. I said that, like, it was somebody that posted something about they weight loss journey, and then somebody else I know was just like going in on them about something really minuscule, and I really was thinking about it. I'm like, honestly, the issue is that they getting results that you want but have not started to do the work for yourself.
Yeah.
So you nitpicking,
so you triggered.
you triggered.
And don't be saying, "Oh, if I was you," but you're not.
Right.
You trigger.
People care so much
triggered.
about other people's lives. It's like, why?
And it's still about you.
Yeah.
Well, to deflect. I mean, why would I care about what she's doing with her life, her time, her money? Because everybody in everybody's pockets. It's,
And what is commenting going to do?
Yeah.
What
Not a damn thing.
what are you
gain?
What are you looking to accomplish with commenting about that?
Right.
To be
I
seen.
think when we think of projecting, we think it's
be seen
only
as a hater?
like negative emotions, like you projecting
Generational.
your anger on me or whatever. But I see a lot of people are projecting their boundaries, their idea of what life is. They projecting their budget on other people. They projecting you know what I mean, their like their ideals on other people. And it's like you literally are commenting on somebody else's life based on your boundaries, your even that little video where it was like, I think it was something like they were saying that they was willing to do in the bedroom. I'm like, if you're not willing to do that, don't do it.
those are your boundaries.
Those are your boundaries, not theirs.
But don't then throw shade at their boundaries.
Come on. And I think that's the more of a place that I'm getting to.
See, are you reading the nonverbal?
I
over
see the
here?
nonverbal.
See the nonverbal.
I
Triggered.
think, yeah. So
Triggered.
I think that's the place that I'm getting to. And honestly, and once you start getting to that place, social media hit different.
So different.
And boundaries, I just want to say, are about you. Your
yeah.
boundaries are about, because I think a lot of people will take someone else's boundaries personal.
Oh, for sure.
And you can't allow that to then make you change your boundaries, because I see that a lot. I see people adjusting their boundaries to meet someone else's needs
yeah.
and someone else's standards. I don't care if it's in relationships, friendships, work, whatever. If you've set your boundary, let it be that.
Ain't that what I posted?
Yeah.
That there's grief associated with your boundaries.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Some people don't want to experience the grief, so then they don't set the boundary. Oh my Lord, that was a word.
Because I've lost friends. I've had to lose friends over my boundaries.
Yeah.
I've had to quit jobs over my boundaries. And it's
Amen. Ooh.
it's yours. And some of them needed to go. Let's just be real.
But it's still grief attached to that
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a part
Because
of the, thing
the
that we gotta
receiving end
unpack.
don't understand.
Well, and even if it's in an abusive situation, you still have grief because of that relationship that you
Right,
lost.
right.
I think
It's
people
still
will-
lost.
Yeah, and then people were like, "Well, why don't you just cut them off?" it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what kind. It might be trauma, trauma bonding. It might be
Look up grief and loss wheel, and you'll see the stages that you must
have to go through.
through.
Yeah.
And I think some people feel bad for you grieve that relationship. I understand that, yes, it was toxic and it was necessary to cut it off, but you could still grieve that loss of like, dang, I did love that. I love that
You
person.
should.
I wish that, things could be different. So,
Or even the idea of what you thought the relationship was to you.
Yeah.
Because even though it may be abusive, there was some good in that relationship because that's why you were there in the first. You know what I mean? There's always
Or unpacking why you even started the relationship to
In the
begin
first
with.
place. There
You
you
have
go.
to start from the beginning of why did this relationship mean so much to you? What benefit did you receive from this relationship? And then start to unpack. We have to go to the beginning in order to unpack.
get it. Yeah. Facts.
Do we open gifts and just leave stuff in, leave it in the box and just only take what's on the top and that's it?
get to the bottom.
We got to get to the bottom.
that's deep.
Good Lord. Okay.
Oh, I think we
Felt
just
like
went
you
off.
needed a button.
Oh yeah. See, I'm on my job.
This was like a conversation / therapy session.
Therapeutic.
And that's what we said at the pod. It is very therapeutic just to come here and just talk about stuff. Unpack
As
stuff.
you know, the more you know.
The more you know, for sure.
Knowledge is power.
All right. So for the audience that's been listening, I know you guys got some nuggets in there. So we're gonna ask SAC Connect again. What are some programs or events that you guys have coming up that our audience may be interested in? And I'm also going to add on, how can we help your cause?
Okay, so first I want to say, please follow us on Instagram at SAC Connect.
That's it.
At SAC Connect. We post all of our events, all of our flyers, everything on there in real time. So that's the way you can stay most up to date with us. But
And our website.
But we don't update that as often.
Are you guys on Instagram, Facebook?
We are on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Instagram is at SAC Connect. Facebook is just SAC Connect.
Space in between.
And our website, thesacconnect.org. So please follow us, put your information down so we can connect with you. Also, don't forget about February 12th. We have our wellness workout at McKinley Park, 10:30 to 11:30. June 18th, we have our wellness fair at Esther Park from 12 to 4.
Correct.
Come out, see some of your community organizations. We'll have a bunch of organizations tabling, wellness vendors, food, kids
food
corner,
truck.
bring the whole family, if COVID permits.
Yes.
Right.
So we'll play that by ear.
And then we also wanted just to highlight, since we've been talking about mental health, we wanted to highlight an online resource. It's called the African American Providers Directory. And that we're listed in there. And it also lists other psychiatrists, marriage and family therapy, therapists, all of color. And
Nice.
it lists what insurance they take, where they're located.
Nice.
It is a great resource if you're looking for a provider of color.
And then if you are a parent listening, we have Youth Connect groups on several high school and junior high campuses. If you are looking to get SAC Connect on your child's campus, reach out to your student support center at your school, be in contact with us, and we can get it going. Because they won't tell you this, but all schools have a budget for
Programs like that.
programs like ours that normally just at the end of the year go unspent. So
We're here to spend it.
we're here to spend it.
Yes. Hold on.
I heard that.
If the resources are there, use them.
So and what
Seriously.
we are learning is that like student support services, they have a budget for us to be
Yes.
on campus. We're just
Yes.
not there because they don't know about us.
Yes.
So if you do have a student at a junior high or high school and you like, oh, this program would be, good for my daughter.
Yes.
Reach out to your student support. And yeah, we're always available to have a conversation and a dialogue about mental health. We do workshops and trainings. So if your organization is interested in training your staff, we are open to putting on a workshop for you, either in person or virtual.
Nice.
And yeah, that's
all we got.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
You said that's all you got, like that wasn't a lot.
I feel like we're missing something too.
We're missing a couple
And then
things,
we,
but-
like I said, we are a 501c3 organization, so we're strictly grant funded and with the generosity of the public. So our followers donate We do participate in like Big Day of Giving and things like that. So if you do find it in your heart and you want to donate to our hygiene care drives or our Feed the Homeless or any of our wellness events, because like I said, we pay for our free wellness events. So it comes out of our pockets. So we do take donations, whether it be water, if you want to donate a case of water, we'll take it. If you want to donate protein bars, things like that, chips, we'll take
Fruit
it,
snacks,
So it doesn't have to be
Kid packs.
monetary,
No. Yeah. I think for those people listening, we always complain about what goes on in the community and what these kids are doing and what they're not doing. This is an opportunity for you to put your money where your mouth is and to give. Because if you cannot give your time, then at least give your money or your energy or share. But obviously these things take money.
Yeah.
And we ain't going to sugarcoat that. It takes money to do these things. And if you are not going to be out in the field, then at least support with your dollars. Please. Because these young women and these youth that are helping and spending the time in the community are doing the work. So I know for sure I'm going to be donating.
And we always say, like, even if you're in a grocery store and you're getting 2 cases of water, just pick up 3.
Yeah.
Drop it off to us.
Yeah.
Drop off the extra water to us because we can always use it, So, like I said, it's not just monetary. Like, we do take, all types of donations.
Yeah. Well, any events like that, let us know. We will definitely shout it out here on the podcast.
Nice. Thank you.
We'll make sure that everybody that's on our listening group and our 9,000 people in our group, they all, because look, this is about the community, this is about helping people, and this is about getting the word out. So we will definitely do what we can do because that's what we're about to.
Nice.
So
Nice.
we appreciate y'all. We appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you.
So before y'all go, because y'all are doing so much amazing things, and we want to make sure that we give you guys your guys' flowers. We believe in Black Girl Magic around here. So we wanted to give y'all a little bit of a gift.
We was not expecting that.
Gifts.
Already looks good to us.
Yes.
Pass the Black Girl Magic to the Black Girl Magic.
Love it.
Nice and cold.
You know what? Yes. Thank you.
We'll use this for our birthdays
well
later, but not her yet.
Yeah.
Not her yet.
Yeah.
Not her yet.
I'm gonna unpack this.
So we celebrate all March, so we be all right.
We'll be all right.
Yeah.
We'll be all right.
No, but we just want it because
Thank you.
just a lot of that work.
It's all
Obviously,
chill.
you guys are coming
Okay.
out of your pockets. You guys are spending the time. That's a lot of selfless work, and we want to make sure that you guys are appreciated. So we wanted to
we
give y'all that,
appreciate you.
and we're gonna give you another round of applause.
It was our pleasure, and always open for
Anytime.
conversations about mental health.
Oh no, we gonna have y'all back on again.
We're going to collaborate.
Yes.
Let's
That's what I
collab
like
For
to
sure.
and
hear.
connect.
Yes, collab and
Because
connect
we
for
need
sure.
your information, remember. Don't forget. Okay.
All right.
Definitely. All right. Well, we gonna thank y'all. We gonna let y'all go. I know it's Saturday and you guys got things to do.
Self-care.
And, self-care, absolutely. Self-care for sure. So we are gonna let y'all go, and we appreciate y'all. For those that are listening, we're gonna be right back. We gotta just take a little bit of an intermission, but we appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Cool.
All right, y'all. We are back from intermission.
Hey, I realized that we didn't do. Who's on the mics today? Who's on the mics today?
I'm
We
sorry.
sure didn't.
G_Focus Focus is on mic. We got Steph.net on the mic, and
What's
we got
good?
Photo B on the mic.
What's poppin'?
Rajio couldn't make it today, but we send him our love, and we do miss him.
Get the bag.
Get the bag. Yeah,
Make
he's
that
out there
money.
getting the bag.
Don't let it make you.
Shout out to Raj, man. Shout out to Raj. So, going forward, one of the changes we made for 2022 is we have a new segment. It's called Choose Violence or Silence, where we watch a video clip, we either react or we stay quiet.
Wait, we got to stay quiet.
If you choosing
Silence.
silence, then you staying quiet.
So I can't choose silence. It's just still give a little something.
That means you choosing violence. It's either violence or silence.
Ain't
It's
no
one of
middle.
the two.
Ain't no in between.
Ain't no
Okay.
middle.
Okay.
So, and this is a segment that we can start incorporating in some of these video clips because I did my research on fair use and we can use it.
Oh, okay.
So we gonna go ahead and get this video clip started. Hold on.
He said if it's up, it ain't stuck.
I'm done.
Time. And so everybody watching, the world watching.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the conversation, AB's mental health, CTE, that conversation. That's everybody. That's what's going on. So like I like really go deep and go. Give me your perspective around that conversation.
Anytime a black man, African American male, become a target or become a forefront or face of anything, you know, it's just unfortunate. You know, imagine yourself putting yourself in my shoes as a football player. You just won a Super Bowl with a team. You won the team. You give them your all. You know, I was out since week 6 with a torn deltoid ligament, and imagine the coach tell you like, get the out of here. You done. Like you hurt. They know you're hurt. They know what it is.
You did that on the Full Send podcast, because that's important.
Yeah,
Did
like,
you do that?
yeah, you done. So I'm trying to, in that moment, I'm already mad, you know, because I can't really, you know how you feel when you hurt, you already a little frustrated. So I'm trying to fathom, like he just said, get the out of here and you done.
I think it was like, you know, obviously when you get bombarded with a bunch of messages about somebody else being in a similar position that you've been, you know, there's a lot of things that people don't know, but at the same time, I sat there and I reviewed the tape. Was there anything I could have done differently? Right. You know, could I handled it differently? Now, you know, I was just a 3-4 defensive end, you know, taking double teams.
Yeah, but then, listen,
touchdowns.
we all from different places, bro. Like, the way you off, it may not be the way we'll do it. You know, we all got different looks on life, on how we react. You know, if a guy pushed you in school, I don't know what you might have did. If a guy pushed me in school, I know what law I live on, what we would have did. So when I know a coach and the team ain't got my back and the situation where I'm hurt and you telling me to get the out of there, ain't no more professional. Ain't no more professional, but I don't want to wear your I'm getting the out of here.
Before all of that, and you can answer this however you want to, if you want to.
Yeah.
Have you ever been diagnosed with a mental health condition, and do you believe that has been a factor in any of these public incidents?
I never had a mental health diagnosis, like, you know what I mean? Like, I never had an issue or problem. I don't take pills. I just got a high IQ.
I'm an advocate for therapy. Do you have a therapist in your life?
I mean, I tried it through the NFL, but I don't really got time to consult with random people I don't know about my mental space or how I look at things. Most of the people from different forms of the world, like I'm from the pit. Most of the people we talk to, they from the palace. So how your lenses look at life is not how mine is.
Resent the feelings of so many former coaches and teammates that you were in need of mental assistance. Does that bother you?
Mental assistance from who?
Professional assistance.
To the extent any of that is coming from a spin that Antonio had a spontaneous mental episode, it's resentful and it's hurtful, and it's a disservice to people who do suffer from mental health challenges. We all have our difficulties, Antonio, myself, everybody.
Yeah, these guys at Tampa Bay Bucks try to make an agreement with me to give me $200,000 to go to the crazy house so these guys can look like they know what they're talking about. These guys are unprofessional.
Wait. They offered you $200,000 for what?
The offer was Antonio would basically sit on the sidelines, go on some list, and commit himself to some form of intensive mental health treatment. And we were specifically told in writing by the general manager twice, don't spin this any other way.
Antonio, do you think you need mental help of any kind?
I have mental wealth, man. I know a lot of people may not understand me.
All right. So that's the end of the clip. So there's 3 separate interviews. For those that are not familiar with Antonio Brown, he is a former wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that was told to get the F out of here during the game against the Jets, where he left the field, took off his jersey, gave up the peace sign, and basically left the field. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they released him after that. And there's been some conversation around his mental health, around what he's done at other stints with the Steelers, with the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders. And they, as you can hear in the interviews and then the conversations, that mental health has been a pretty big conversation around him as a player and has his antics, or however you want to put it. And so we're going to choose violence or silence. Are we going to comment on what he said, or are you going to stay silent because you don't have anything to say at all?
You know I'm choosing violence. I got something to say.
Go ahead. Photo B, you choosing violence or silence?
Yeah. Violence.
Violence. I'm choosing violence as well. All right, so go ahead, Steph, because I know I sure that was your guy for like a little bit.
You know what? I feel him again. I can't diagnose him or whatever, but I feel like it is unfortunate that anytime black men, anytime people don't agree with black men, that they always go straight to questioning their mental health. And in this instance, I'm not demonizing mental health, but I feel like in this instance, it was used. You can see how it was trying to be used. You know what I mean? It wasn't coming from a place of actual care, or, you know what I mean? It was coming from a place of how can we spin this to make us look good, or how can we try to discredit him? And that's the part that really bothers me. Even if he does have a mental health diagnosis, they was trying to use it against him. And I don't like that. But I think it does shine light too on like how he was saying like he tried it through the NFL and how he didn't feel comfortable, you know, talking to people. Obviously, to me, it seemed like talking to people that were not black, you know what I mean, or come from the background that he come from, to really understand. And I think that is a issue we face of feeling like you can't relate to where I came from, and it's kind of hard for me to have to sit there and explain why I think the way that I think, you know, and I don't know. I feel him on that, and I think that is definitely a barrier for black people, specifically.
My bad.
Especially for black men, you know, because I mean, nobody can identify with how it is to be y'all but y'all, and I think it's a very unique experience.
Right.
So
yeah, the way they're using the whole mental health issues on there is like you said, it's not from a place of care. It's a place from manipulation. Yep. And that's if I'm wrong, correct me. Is that gaslighting? Are they gaslighting him? Like,
it could be.
It's some form of abuse.
A tactic.
It's a tactic. It's a form of abuse, because they know that, one, if you tell a black man he has mental issues and he needs to see therapy or anything like that, it's going to you know, hit him a certain way, because, one, that's not the issue.
And they're minimizing his feelings, or minimizing
the actual issue, because
he got their role in it.
Right. He stepped off the field because he was hurt. The coach told him, like, nah, you need to get back out there. He's like, I can't. I'm putting my all in. I've already tried. I've already been out there playing on this injury. And at this point, I can't do it anymore. It's like, all right, well, you done. It's like, man, you know what? Fuck y'all. I'm off. So, yeah, he has my support.
I think so, too. And I think, like you said, or what he was saying about them trying to police his reaction, you know what I mean? They're saying, well, you could have handled it differently. Yeah, of course. There's always times you could handle something differently. But in that moment, you know, if you felt valid in your feelings, you know what I mean? He did what he did, and it is what it is, and he has to stand by it. But you can't minimize people. I feel like a lot of people were detracting from that. Like, okay, yeah, he might have been right, but, and it's like, y'all are only focusing on the reaction, and that's it. And you notice that a lot, how people will do something to you, and then all of a sudden the whole focus is how you reacted. It ain't got nothing to do with the original issue.
Right. Yeah, man, there was a lot to unpack. Let me first address him. The pit or the palace comment. With the amount of money that he has and the people that he has around him, I don't want to invalidate his feelings, but he has to realize, if you come from a certain place, that law that you grew up with does not apply everywhere.
It don't.
And when you work for a corporation that is worth billions upon billions of dollars, the same way you acted in the pit is not the same way that you would act in the palace. So if you're acknowledging that you both come from two totally different worlds, you also have to acknowledge that at some point in place, now that you are making millions of dollars, there needs to be some type of transition. And you can't be like that. Now, I acknowledge why he acts like that, because that's how he grew up. You grew up with a certain amount of principles. You grew up with a certain amount, like you said, if somebody pushed you at school, you may act one way. If somebody pushed me at school, I know what I'm doing, because that's how I grew up. The comments like they wanted to send me to the crazy house, the comments about, oh, I don't think people are going to understand me because they come from the palace and I come from the pit. I just feel like that's a common stigma or misconception that we have in the black community as far as mental health goes, where again, you make millions upon millions of dollars. You have access to more mental health therapists than anybody else does. And you can find somebody that you're comfortable with. Did you try to find somebody you're comfortable with? You didn't have to go through the NFL. You could have went to one on your own. I think the problem is that maybe he didn't think that there was an issue. And I think when you have yes men around you, they don't tell you that there's an issue. And not to say that he was necessarily wrong in how he reacted in that situation as far as leaving the field, because you get shot up. So your ankle is numb. You can't feel your injury until halftime or the second, third quarter. And then you start feeling it and somebody's pushing you to play when you're not able to play. And if that was Tom Brady or anybody else, it would be, okay, Tom, we're going to go ahead and sit you and don't worry about it and we'll get somebody else in. It wouldn't be you either play or you out of here. It would be, we're going to accommodate you. And in reality of it is in that business, you're not a person. You're an asset until they can replace you. And then when they can replace you, then they treat you how they want to treat you. And unfortunately, that's how they're treating Antonio Brown, because he's at the end tail end of his career. If this was at the beginning 2 or 3 years of his career, that would have never happened.
Nope. You right about that.
Never happened. It's always tolerance for performance. They will only tolerate you as long as you're performing. The minute that you stop performing, they will not tolerate you anymore. And you see that time and time again, especially in the NFL.
Yep. I think I said something to that effect of, we talk about mental health and player safety and all of that. And I'm like, but people are willing to overlook that for their own entertainment.
Absolutely. And for their own pockets.
Yeah, for your pockets and your own entertainment, because you can see by the fans' reaction, even when it did come out with the whole injury and all that, they still, it's like y'all are willing, y'all don't cape for player safety because it affects your need to be entertained.
Absolutely.
At the expense of black bodies.
Absolutely. Yep. And on the flip coin of that, black men aren't allowed to have safe spaces. Point in case.
Yep.
So
because a lot of it was coming from black men, and that's why I'm like, how can y'all talk about black men not having a safe space, black men not being able to express themselves, and y'all be the first? I don't know. It's kind of like how I see women, where it's that internalized misogyny, that internalized, sexism, and it's like you're doing the exact thing. You know what I mean?
That you're trying to advocate for.
That you're trying to advocate for because it's internalized.
And unfortunately, in sports, we have this weird thing where we side with the team. Because it's like, oh, what's best for the team? What's best for my interests? And it's like, if the individual goes against what's your interest, like you're siding with the corporation or with the owner or with the whatever, but you don't know the whole dynamics of what was going on. And like for us, we often, whenever I'm trying to think of a way to say this. Whenever we express ourselves, it's always deemed as you're being too aggressive. You're being too abrasive. You are, and it's like, oh, do you have anger management issues? And it's like, for black people, it's like, it is so devaluing to always hear that. It's like, if I'm expressing myself, why is it that when somebody from like an exotic country, like Brazil or Spain, when they express themselves, oh, they're just passionate.
It's spicy.
It's spicy or it's passionate. But then when black people express themselves, oh, you're toxic, you're angry. It's the angry black woman syndrome. It's the angry black
woman versus the spicy Latina.
And it's like, for us, we're not allowed to just express. If I'm frustrated, I think I have a right to be frustrated. And it's like, why do you feel that is a threat? No, you're trying to deminimize me and my feelings, where I can't. Only thing you see me as is, again, an asset. Go out there, play football, catch 100 passes, whatever it is. And as long as you do that, then we're good. But the minute you don't, and the minute you do something I don't like, you're out of there. Look at Cam Newton. As long as he was scoring touchdowns, they didn't care what he did. The minute he stopped, and the minute he was injured, the minute that he stopped producing, that got him up out of there.
Yep.
With the quickness.
That's why I said they're property, not assets. Because asset you keep, asset you make sure it's going to be doing good because that's an asset.
You actually invest in it.
Right.
That's true.
You know what I mean? You're going to do your thing to make sure your asset is going to continue being a valuable asset.
That's true.
Other than that, you're an employee.
Yep.
Or property. Like you said, I think what you
employee.
said is better.
Property.
I think it's property. Yeah. So I ain't gonna say who I side with. I just wish on one point, I wish that Antonio Brown would get a little bit more information about mental health. I don't think that episode was a mental health episode, but I think I can definitely see that he could benefit from therapy. I think everybody could benefit from therapy. But yeah, to paint it in that he had a mental health episode so that way it makes the team look better, I think it's trash.
Exactly. That's the part that really bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely, like you said, the stigmas that he perpetuated. But again, I'm not as offended by that because, again, like you said, this is something that we're actively trying to get by. And I'm like, the fact that he believes those stigmas is exactly what we've been saying.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing that I wanted to add in that clip, but I didn't get a chance to, is on that I Am an Athlete. Right after that comment, he talked to Brandon Marshall about OGs. And Brandon Marshall's like, I was trying to be your OG. And he was like, there is no OG. And Brown said, there is no OGs. He said, you guys are too busy trying to be the man where you guys don't reach out and you guys don't help out the younger players or whatever. So I think that's another conversation for a totally different day. But I think he had a point that I think us as older men, older women in our communities do need to reach out and be more hands-on with some of the younger people.
I think so too. I think one thing that I'm noticing with Black men that I wish they did more of was, more, I feel like more mentorship. I feel like I see so many different male platforms that are about pointing out what's wrong with everybody else in the community, where I feel like it needs to be more platforms to actually create a space for y'all, not about everybody else or what the Black women is doing or what, the LGBT community is doing or what, you know what I mean? Like, create a space that's for really for y'all.
Yeah.
There's actually somebody out here who's been doing stuff. My boy Jermaine Morris and Barry Axios, they've been doing things out in the South area. They've been doing, like, I think next month they're doing a manhood mentoring seminar. So they'll have they're connected in the community. So they'll have people bring their kids, their sons, and some dads will even be there too to talk to them about things and let them know that you can come talk to us. You see a lot of moms dropping the kids off to be there.
For real.
So it's not that it's not there. It just got to be found. And as well as not even just actually just like the kids find this, it's about the parents allowing them to go and seeing the value in it.
Seeing the value, and actually pouring into the, like you said with SAC Connect, pouring into the programs that you see that are out here trying to help. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't need any more Derek Jacksons. We don't need anybody else to try to guide women or tell women how to be women, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need more. Talk to the men.
Male mentorship.
Talk to the men, because, I feel like that's y'all place.
Well, and you can't have it both ways. You can't say the men is the head of the household, the men are the leaders, the men are the ones that are supposed to be the strength and the backbone or whatever, but then you're not investing into your men. And then you're always trying to point out what's wrong with the women. If you want a better community, and if you're saying that men are to be the leaders, then invest in your men.
Start there.
It is difficult. It is difficult. I have heard so many different things from women talking about how other men are and how they react and act about certain things, and it is extremely masculine toxicity. It's the biggest issue is that, one, I'm not going to go to another man and tell me what to do. Right? That's where they feel.
You think it's a pride and ego with men?
100%. 100%. It's nothing but that.
But see, but I think there's a sense. I think main issues with men. Yes, I think that's prevalent. But I've also heard another underlining sentiment that men are not needed. And I think when you keep putting that message out there that I can do it by myself, I got this. I can be both mom and dad. Men are absent. Men are not there. Men are leaving their kids, whatever. And for the most part, some of that is missed because Black men are present. But as far as there's a difference between being present and mentorship and discipleship and growing and teaching and getting them on the right path. I can be present, but being present doesn't mean that it's effective. Being present doesn't mean that it's positive. You know what I mean? And there's this, we already talked about this, that divide between black women and black men, and it's becoming more toxic as we go because black women are frustrated. They're fed up to the point where I understand some of the sentiment where I can just do it on my own because you're so used to doing it on your own and you're so tired that it's like, I just don't even want to even deal with it. So I get where the sentiment's coming from, but
I think it's coming from the place of y'all always preach that women can't teach boys how to be men. We can't teach y'all how to be men. So I feel like it's y'all place to preach to men. But like I said, you see more platforms of men using their platform to tell women,
to tear women down,
to tell women what they should be doing. And it's like, why don't we see more platforms of men preaching to men about manhood?
I agree with you.
That's what I'm talking about.
I agree. But I've also heard women say, I can do it. I've seen women say, I can teach him how to be a man better than his father or better than another man can. And no, you can't. I'm sorry.
How? I mean, tell me, what female platforms have you seen where women are preaching to men the way that men preach to women on their platform? Ain't none.
There isn't. You're right. There isn't.
There may be. We just ain't seen it.
And a lot of
the ones that are popular. There isn't one popular trending one there isn't a reverse Kevin Samuel.
Or you know what I'm saying? That's why I say, I'm like, why are men spending so much time, our black men spending so much time complaining about everybody else in the community instead of investing in the men in the community?
I agree.
That's what I want to see.
I agree. It's much needed. And the men, black men, got to step up and do the work. Obviously, there are people in the community doing the work. I think that's a conversation we can have on this podcast.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
Because that's what we need to be shining more light on.
We need better leaders.
So that's exactly what it is. And the problem is that people don't know what it is to be truly masculine and truly feminine. So there's a lot of energy that's going around that's not properly balanced. So that's why you have women who are like, I don't need a man, because they adopted the masculine energy that they weren't getting because they had to get the shit done. They couldn't trust the men that they were dealing with. So they actually had to take on that masculine energy and start doing that shit.
Out of necessity. Yeah.
Out of necessity. Right. Because they kept dealing with not the proper lead. They kept dealing with men who thought they were leaders, but really weren't. So that ended up being toxic. So that way they weren't really actually seeing what it was that they really needed. And everybody was being misguided and thinking that's how it was supposed to be until they see what it's really supposed to be.
Yeah. I think for me, like personally, lately, like I said, I've been doing a lot of work and inner work and all that kind of stuff. And I think one thing that I really realized was getting away from the narrative of toxic femininity or toxic masculinity, because when you really think about it, the things that we deem toxic masculinity or toxic femininity already have names. You know what I mean? And I feel like femininity is not toxic. Masculinity is not toxic. So the things that you're talking about are called abuse. They're called narcissism. They're called controlling. They already have names.
Yeah.
So call that what it is instead of associating these characteristics with masculinity.
With being toxic. Yeah.
So if it is toxic, it's not masculinity. And I think that's what we need to create, that line of these toxic things are, call it what it is.
Yeah.
That's abusive behavior. That's physically abusive, or that's emotional abuse, or it's narcissism or whatever. But don't lump it in with masculinity, because a true masculine man would not be abusive. He would not be those things.
Yeah.
So why are we calling it that?
We're calling it that because there are certain aspects in it that hinder on top of it from the masculinity.
I don't think so. Because even with sexism, that's what it is. It's sexism. I don't think that's a you know what I mean? I feel like, is it perpetrated by men? Yes. But I feel like if we want to define masculinity, we have to take these negative traits and stop associating them with true masculinity. You see what I'm saying?
That's where
they already have names.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The difference between there's you have masculinity and you have the toxic masculine traits. I'm not talking about like everything masculine is masculine trait is toxic. I'm just saying that there are certain things that there's like, oh, I'm being like this because I'm a man. That's toxic masculinity, right? If you try to base certain things based off of because I'm a man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think what you both are saying is right.
I think that's just what I'm trying to do.
I think what Photo B is saying is right, but I think what you're saying is right too, is that basically you're saying we need to redefine the word.
Exactly. We need to redefine it and start calling those toxic traits what they are.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And not associate them with masculinity.
Yeah, but I think what Photo B is saying, like, my understanding of toxic toxic masculinity is that, like, if you define manhood by not crying, like, it doesn't, like, that's not, or you know what I mean, or like if you say like okay, so this is probably a better example. You're not masculine unless you sleep with 50 or 60, 70 different women. That would be considered toxic masculinity because your definition of masculinity is tied in something that is toxic. I'm not a man because of who I sleep with. I'm a man because of my character, my integrity, what I do for the, for the community. I lead my household. I take care of my children. Those are the things that would make you masculine in our viewpoint. But if you're, because you've seen that, like, oh man,
I've seen it, but
like
I think where I'm getting to is I'm weeding those people out.
Correct.
You don't get to be in the masculine.
You're not masculine at all with
all.
that. So it's not even toxic masculinity. You're just toxic.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where I'm trying to get to, because I feel like we start getting negative towards masculinity as a whole. You know what I mean? Same thing with femininity. Like if you associate being insecure and all of those,
I got what you're saying.
If you know what I mean, it's not toxic femininity, it's insecurity.
Because I've seen, and we're gonna talk about it. I think we're gonna talk about it in this next segment. Okay. I've seen women use masculinity, and the way they use it in context is already in a negative standpoint.
Exactly. And I think that we're getting more towards that because we are lumping these toxic traits into the new name of toxic masculinity instead of calling it what it is and saying you're not masculine because you are not, you're not fitting the criteria. Like, we need to have a criteria for masculinity. If you ain't in that, you just what you are. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yep. And what I see most of the time is usually when they call you or when they use masculinity in a negative standpoint is because what you're doing is not beneficial to them. Mm-hmm. So they try to pinhole you into something that they want you to be, and instead of, for one, again, I think that's why so many men get upset. You have no. How do you tell me what masculinity looks like? Because to us, masculinity only bestows masculinity. That's why we say that as good as moms do amazing job. Single moms do amazing job, but there's information that needs to get passed down from a father to a son. There's some things that you're going to miss out. And the same thing with the daughter. There's some things that a woman needs to pass down to a daughter that a man may be able to speak on, but there's just some things that you just don't get because you're not a woman.
And that's why I think it's so frustrating when you have these, Kevin Samuel platforms or Derek Jackson's or whatever, because it's kind of like, you are a man and you're only speaking from the viewpoint of what you find desirable for yourself.
Correct.
And I think that's what women be trying to say, is that what you're speaking from is your traits of what's desirable in women, but you can't speak to what womanhood is.
Correct.
For everybody.
Yes.
You don't get to define it because you're not a woman.
I would agree. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue that women have with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it comes off of, oh, y'all don't want to take accountability. It's like, no, you're not going to tell me how to be a woman based on your desires.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or your personal,
personal liking. Yeah. And I think the whole manosphere has that issue. Mm-hmm. But I think also you got to take some of those stuff into context. Because I like Kevin Samuels, from my understanding, he was always telling women how to get these high value men. So it wasn't defining womenhood. It was, if
I just mean in general, like all of these platforms of men telling women
like
what to do.
Like Fresh and Fit. Oh yeah, Derek Jackson.
Yeah, that's why it's just kind of like, you're not a woman, and I feel like and that's why I said, are there any female platforms that are doing the opposite of telling men how to be men or telling men how to get a wife? Or nobody does that.
Which is why even though I may not agree with a lot of what she says, Brittany Rayners are needed to balance the conversation.
That's what I was thinking about. The problem is that anytime it does, she's looked at based off of her past way too much.
Yes.
So I'll be
listening. The credibility.
I'll be listening.
Yeah, she is problematic, but she's not wrong in everything she says.
Yeah.
So I think she's needed, which I'm probably gonna get killed for, but it's the truth.
It's real. It's real because it's a perspective.
It's a perspective.
It's a true perspective, and that's the thing that people don't understand. It's like, oh, just because you done all this, I'm not gonna listen to you. I don't respect you.
Yeah.
Why? What is your past so different from hers to where you feel like you can't listen to her just because she has a different perspective?
And we can't disqualify people based on their past.
Right.
Because I'll be disqualified.
You can.
I think everybody, you know what I mean?
I think people need to get that straight. You can disqualify for people being a hypocrite. If I'm currently doing something and telling somebody to do the opposite, oh, absolutely. But if I did something And now that I've learned and I've grown and I'm telling you to do X, Y, and Z, give people room to grow.
Yeah, people
I
grace.
think, like you said before, we in that cancel culture to where it's all or nothing. Like, if you agree with one thing somebody says, that means you agree with everything they've ever did in their whole life's work. And I think we got to get away from that. Like, you can't associate with people at all if they've ever done something wrong.
And that's dense to me. Again, I don't agree with a lot of what she has said in the past, but it doesn't mean that I'm not open to listen to what she has in the future. And again, you can label somebody as being problematic, but it doesn't mean you have to counsel them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. We're going to get into
the next
internet
conversation.
wins again. Hold on. Is it plugged in? There we go.
I'm ready.
Nope. Hold on, man. Got to get the equipment popping. Internet wins again, where we talk about the hottest internet topics. We're going to talk about Mr. Nick Cannon coming up. So he had a, I guess it's kind of like a roundtable men's little conversation, right?
I guess so. I ain't never seen that show before.
I've never seen it either. But basically, he is vulnerable in the conversation and he gives his thoughts on bringing toys into the bedroom. So we're going to go ahead and get that up. Where is it at? Screenshot, screen recording. Here we go. Is it this one? Nope.
Checkers, rock robot. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with this. If a woman wants to bring a toy to the bed, I see that as competition. Just me personally, I feel like I'm a pleaser, and if I'm not the one pleasing, I don't need another object in the room because I'm trying to be as sensual and as connected as possible. That to me is a distraction.
Oh, that's honest. Man, that's good.
Candid versus the rabbit.
Yeah, that's a good point of view right there. I like that.
Candid versus the rabbit.
I like that. Is. I didn't think that I would hear that from you, but that was good.
Yeah. And I'm open to all types of things, but if it's something that is gonna bring you pleasure beyond what I can do, again, maybe that's an insecurity or something, but I don't want no competition.
Well, why feel bad? You bought it, so it's just different.
I paid for that, girl.
But
enjoy what we do.
It's a real issue, and it comes up a lot in therapy, right?
Yeah.
And so, ladies, you got to be careful because this is tricky. You want him to take instruction and not take offense. So you can't tell a man what he's not doing right in the bedroom and not hurt his feelings. So you got to do it the other way. You got to Jedi mind trick him, tell him what he's doing right, then tell him what this toy is going to help him do even more.
And then I hear that because my question is, and it feels like toys are a one-sided thing. Like the toys are kind of the business is to please the woman.
Right.
Are there any toys out there that help men?
Yes.
I've never.
Yes.
Chad was like, yes. Talk to us, Chad. But I just didn't know that because usually if it is, it's something that vibrates. I don't like vibration. I mean, like, it's something that does something. Even handcuffs. Like I'm scared. I don't want to go to jail. I'm
Thoughts. This was hot. This was hot in the Reverb Nation. Shout out to the Reverb Nation, man.
Yes.
I'm gonna go last.
Okay.
For me, being a woman, I feel like I've said this a lot of times that it's not about you. And I understand the ego and the pride that comes with pleasing or being able to please your woman. But I feel like with that, it should come with the open mind that if this is something that she needs or wants to try, then I feel like you should be open to it. You know, if you really are concerned with pleasing, because again, there's a lot of women who do not orgasm from penetration alone. Like honestly, a lot of women who don't. So if you really care about her being pleased, you would not see a toy as competition. You would see it as I want her to get to where she needs to go.
Yes.
And that's just my idea on it. But I mean, I understand where he was coming from. Again, like the way he was explaining it, it seems like it comes with a lot of misinformation, a lot of just not really knowing.
Yeah. Oh, this was loaded. Yeah. So I agree. I think you should, well, you know what? I can't say that because in this journey of me on this podcast, I have to say this because it is true. Sex is personal.
It is.
So what may work for me may not work for somebody else.
Your boundaries is your boundaries.
Yes.
Your whatever you willing to do is.
But this is a podcast, so we're going to just go ahead and just shoot it. So I personally would be open to increasing pleasure into the bedroom because for me, that is my goal. My goal is to bring you as much pleasure as possible. So if it means bringing in an extra toy for foreplay, hey, bring in an extra toy for foreplay. If it means doing something that, again, that you are pleasurable, that you like, I have no problem doing that. And my ego is not placed in a place where if that is helping you get there, where I'm thinking that it's a disconnection between me and the toy. I'm thinking that I'm partaking in the pleasure. So as long as you get to where you need to get to, I'm cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
I do understand where he's coming from as far as, and this is where I think a lot of people may have misheard the clip, because a lot of the comments I saw after the clip were like, well, if you can't get the job done, then just say that. Or if you got a small dick, then just say that. And it's like, he didn't say, from what I heard, he didn't say that the toy was competition to him as far as like his performance. I think he said it as far as one, pleasure, because he said he wanted the pleasure to come from him. But from what I heard from it, or from what I gathered, it sounded like more like he wanted to make sure that the act was just between those two to be as intimate, as essential as possible, so to make sure that they are connected. Because even though we may say that, I know that there are times, because Demi Lovato said it, she said, I got more pleasure from my toy than I got from my last boyfriend or from her ex-boyfriend. To the point where, so some people do make a difference between the toy and the person. So if you are doing that, then there are some instances where it can be distracting, where you're more focused on this instead of the person that you're with. So I think it just depends on the person. And I think it depends on who you're with. And if Nick wants to be as intimate as possible, I understand where he's coming from. I disagree. I think you can have intimacy and still bring toys into the bedroom, but I understand where he's coming from. The issue I had was, as soon as he said that, again, his masculinity was questioned. Oh, well, if you ain't got a big package, then just say that. Where in that clip did he say anything about his performance? He said, I want to be central, I want to please my woman, and I want that pleasure to come from me. It has nothing to do with you attacking his size, his performance, his masculinity.
And you know what I said? My response to that was, like, he even said, maybe it's an insecurity. So I feel like pointing out that that's an insecurity in him, I don't feel like that's questioning masculinity, because insecurity is not just, I feel like it's seen as just a female trait. So when you call a man insecure, men automatically think that you're questioning their manhood when you're not. But again, like you said, the comments about the package and, you know, the insult part of it, I feel like coming from women comes from a place of, sometimes it comes from a place of projecting, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of women honestly feel bad about needing to have toys in the mix or needing other stimulation other than just penetration. And I feel like there's a lot of shame in that. So I think that's where a lot of that vitriol comes from. Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of awkward because he admitted, he said, maybe it's an insecurity of mine. I mean, he said it himself that, I mean, I think you're right. Insecurities is not always a bad thing. Like, and I think on the show previously, didn't he say he was insecure about his body? He said, because I've always been skinny, I'm insecure about that part. So it's like, this was a place, again, we talk about safe spaces. Women always say, I want my man to be vulnerable. And then as soon as you're vulnerable, oh, well, if you can't do the job, then just say that. So which one you want us to do?
Yeah, don't do. And again,
because if you want us to be vulnerable, but then you use that vulnerability against me, then I'm not going to be vulnerable. He's saying that this is an insecurity of mine. So that would then maybe be a good time for you to maybe give him more information or to tell him, hey, no, actually, as a woman, I don't look at it like that. I look at it as, if we're interacting in this sex act together, I'm still concentrated on you. It's just, sometimes I want something outside of just strictly penetration. And I want to try new things. I want to experience new things. I want to open up the box a little bit, but I want to do that with you. And I think if man hearing that from a woman saying, I want to experience all these things, but I want to do it with you, that helps that insecurity. That helps that it's not like, I just wanted the toy. You can just sit on the side. Like, I think that's how Nick looks at it. Like, oh, I'm going to be using the toy, but you just sit and watch. Or you can just kind of be on the sideline while I'm doing my thing. It's like, no, I think most women from the comments I saw said, no, I want you to use the toy on me to help me get there. And doesn't mean that you got to use the toy the whole time. It could be
women just need that. Sometimes a lot of women need clitoral stimulation.
Yeah.
And you can use your hand if you really want to. Like, you know what I'm saying? But again, some people like to incorporate toys. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times I don't think men realize like there's all kind of different toys, and the whole point is you could do both at the same time.
It's at the same damn time.
Like, it's not saying I don't want penetration. I'm saying I need
stimulation
in other areas as well at the same time. Anybody's saying, well, you sit over there, let me get what I need to get real quick, and then let's start penetrating. Like, that's not how it works.
Men, I think because men, we don't need that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's hard to understand.
Our stimulation comes from the act itself. Like, you know what I mean? We don't have to. I mean, I'm not. And again, I'm speaking personally from what I've heard from the conversations I've had. I know how men usually think. For us, it's not. We don't need the or you know, like there's some women who need foreplay. Like, they can't just go. Like, for most men, they can just get right onto it. Some women want to be warmed up. They want to be, or even, you know, even being married. I had to learn that, like, romance is a part of that. Like, how I treat her is a part of that. You can't have a bad day at work, you know, you arguing all day and then come home and then be like, all right, like, let's no, it needs to be like how she felt towards me directly resulted in what happened in like the bedroom. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, if I was sending her good texts and encouraging her and whatever. And for me, I've never tried to pressure anybody into sex. So I like it to happen on an organic basis. But when you beefing and things ain't cool, you're like, hey, what's going on? And it's like, because I don't feel like it. And it's like, for us, even if we don't feel like it, we can still feel like it. Like, we'll work our way into feeling like it. You know what I mean? But I think as a man, and just listening more, sometimes it doesn't work like that for women. You can't just force your way into feeling it. And I don't want it if you have to fake it or make yourself do it. I want you to actually want to be there. You know what I mean? So
a lot of it comes down to it mixing with it. Because if somebody says, let's bring a toy in, it almost sounds like somebody saying, you're not enough. So I get when people are coming across that. But here's the thing, though. There's always room. When it comes to pleasure, there's always room for more.
Yeah.
Come on.
There's always room for more.
Ain't no cap.
Right. There's no cap. There's more to it. There's more to it. If you're okay with having vanilla ass sex, then say that. Right? If you want to just do the regular shit, that's cool. That's your thing. Mm-hmm. Right? But don't look at the toy as a competition, because that toy can't just get up and just do the damn thing on his own. It's got to be used.
Not yet.
That toy is a tool.
Yeah.
That toy is a tool. That is your buddy. Me and Roshan are like this. Me and Roshan, you feel me? You know how to get it right. Because like you said earlier, there are women, majority of women do not get off through penetration.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They need that stimulation. Yeah. Yes, the act of sex feels great, but they can't get there.
Yeah.
It's just not there. It's not, nothing's wrong with what you're doing.
Right.
It's just that's not how it's going to be. And then you got men who just don't go down on women for whatever reason. So it's like, yo, something's got to give, my guy.
Yeah.
It's not all about you.
Yeah.
Right. It's not all about you. You pleasing your woman. If you know how to use this toy, use it. The thing is, a lot of times when people want to start off, like anytime you start off the first time messing with somebody, right, you're thinking about it. Especially if you're trying to, pleasure this person, you're in the mindset of, what do I need to do to make this right? Right? When you get involved with somebody further down the line, you start getting used to them, start understanding. You can be a lot more intimate because you're not thinking about all the things that you have to do. It's innate.
Right.
You know what you need to do. So when you bring a toy in, yes, it's a new thing and you have to learn how to use it. But once you start using it and start understanding how it works and where you got to be on her with that specific toy, that is your extension. That is your extension. You know, like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go and grab this, hit this button about 4 or 5 times to get to the setting right, because this is the setting that she likes the best. If I'm hit it right here, and then about 30 seconds in, all I gotta do is hit it slow mo right there. It's over. That is your tool. That is your tool.
He is passionate and experienced.
I damn near got a membership about Hustler. What you talking about? I pull up, be like, hey, what's poppin'? Like, hey, I see you. It's nothing wrong with using a toy. There's nothing wrong with using it.
Photo B.
Because there's so many different ways. And I'm telling you, fellas, your woman will love you more. Because there's a lot of guys who won't use it. And they'll feel the type of way about you that you're not using. Oh, he's not doing enough. Oh, he may not be doing it right, but he bringing in that toy. I'm getting there. It may be different, but that toy is that extra level.
Hey.
Yeah, I think that's where men have the issue, is that if the toy is the main course instead of the side dish. Because then it's extra. Because then I know what you're saying is extra. And I agree with you, but I think men think that the toy will become the main dish and they become the side and then they're replaceable. Or I know
because this is my thing. Any woman that I've talked to, we joke about it. I know women joke about the roles and all of that, but at the end of the day, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
I know.
It can get there. It gets you there quick because you know how to use it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
It's designed to do
but
that.
It's not the same because it doesn't. Because there's no intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
No. So, men. Actually, no. I said sex is personal.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not gonna say that.
Just be open. And honestly, the thing that you could tell people is talk to your partner and be open with your partner and find somebody. Like I said in that one post when it was like the dudes that were talking about doing anal play and all of that, and I'm like, I have certain boundaries and I don't put my boundaries on other people. But if you found somebody that's on your same wavelength and y'all got the same type of boundaries, that's what you need to be looking for.
Have a blast with that.
Compatible. Somebody, you need to be sexually compatible.
You need to be compatible. Yeah.
Too.
Or open. And again, sex is personal. So for me, I get pleasure out of giving pleasure. So if I want to try something specific and the other person doesn't, I'm not going to keep pushing for that to happen because I want them to be comfortable. And sometimes it's a sacrifice. It's a give or take. There may be something that she may want to try, you may not want to try. And it's like, you have to really figure out what it is that you're willing. I mean, just like any relationship, the biggest thing is have the communication, have the conversation. What does this look like? What does pleasure look like to you? What do you like? What do you not like? And then you need to figure out where your likes and dislikes, where they match. Exactly. And then you can figure out what is pleasurable to both.
Because I could say all day that I feel like bringing toys into the equation isn't competition or is okay. But if that's a boundary for you, then that's just what it is.
Then,
There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
But again, you have to, there's women out there that don't like using toys.
Right. Exactly.
So at the end of the day, like I said, it's somebody for everybody. And you just got to find your match, your compatibility in that area.
Yeah. There were some women in there that said that it felt weird.
Yeah. They don't like it.
And I said, okay.
And I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So then somebody like Nick would be a perfect match for you.
Yeah.
Because if you both find it weird, then don't do something to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Don't feel like she was saying, people feel like they got to move their boundaries. You don't have to. And sometimes I feel like it's okay with change too, because there's conversations that we've had that have made me be like, you know what? Even like my views on toxic masculinity have changed. Like, you know what I mean? So again, you could change your thoughts on something based on the more information you get. But at the end of the day, if you get the more information, you still feel the same.
Yeah.
That's cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to get out of the business of trying to move other people's boundaries.
And that's what social media has got us to, that place where it's not just about sharing opinions or sharing ideas. It's about trying to convince people that your idea is the best one.
Yeah, trying to conform everybody to think one way.
Exactly.
And if you don't, then you get bullied, you get harassed, you get into trying to think. It's like, nah, if that's how that person thinks, that's how that person thinks.
And it's weird to me how we're in this place of talking about making space for people, making room for people, but then people do the exact opposite. Every time something comes up that's different from the way they think or different, like you immediately go into bashing or bash mode or joke mode or drag mode. And it's like, how are you making room for other people when every time these conversations come up, you shutting them down?
Yeah. We're in this space that everybody has to be included. So when you set a boundary, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I call it, I don't know. I'm going to find a word for it. Either, I don't know.
I don't take.
I think it's. I'm gonna call it this. It's Karenism. That's what it is.
People taking boundaries personally.
Because no. When you tell somebody what they can't do, they get infuriated and push and say that they want to do it. So like again, boundary. So if I say so in the group where I told people, I said, if you're going to be anti-black or disrespectful to black people, this is not the space for that. And right after that, then what happened? Multiple people came in being disrespectful to black people. So we kicked them out. And then, but people felt some kind of way about that because it's like, oh, I should be able, it's a free country, it's free speech. I should be able to say whatever I want to say. You can't say that here.
Yeah, you can say it anywhere else.
You can say wherever you want to,
but you can't say
but
here.
Not here. Free speech, free country, all that shit that you're talking about has nothing to do with if I own the platform, you cannot say it here.
That's
you
true.
have this superiority where you feel like you have to be, should be, and I have to accommodate whatever it is you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to listen to nothing you have to say. I don't have to give you space to say what you have to say. You can go create your own space to go do that. It's like whenever, even this whole mask mandate. When the mask came up, oh no, like people were going to Costco protesting, saying we should be able to come in without mask. They are a privately owned company telling you cannot come in with mask or without mask, and you still are trying to push your narrative on them.
I think for me, when I think about making room for people, I mean more so like people who have different ideals than me, like, the polygamy ideals, or you know what I'm saying? Even like a lot of the posts that have come up in the Reverb, I just be seeing like how it goes. And it's like, if somebody did agree with this, they definitely not going to speak up on this post. Because you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And I think that's what I mean as far as making room for people. I could disagree with something, but the way that I disagree with it, how I disagree with it, to me, is the deciding factor on if I'm actually making room for other people.
A lot of people aren't. A lot of people don't realize that, people have different belief systems.
Views,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Different people have different lifestyles, different ways that they, different experiences in their life, right? So you can't be like, oh, that's not what we're supposed to do. I don't understand why you're doing that, because of course you're not going to understand. That's not how you were raised. That's not how you lived your life.
Right.
And it's not for you to tell somebody else how their life should be. Doesn't matter what your belief system is. Doesn't matter what you think is right and wrong. It ain't got shit to do with you.
Like for example, I mean, it didn't happen on that post because of the way that I asked the question, but that post with the girl with the long braids.
Yeah.
I feel like posts like that initially, like for me, I'm like, oh yeah, them braids is too long. You know what I'm saying? For me personally. But I feel like the way that people approach it, come in, them braids is too long. If you let your daughter wear them kind of braids, you this kind of parent, you that, you this, you know what I'm saying? That's how you approach your disagreement with it. To me, where it's like, you shutting everybody else out that may feel like, hey, I feel like here is a form of expression, you know what I'm saying? But you're already labeling, like when you get to labeling,
No, I see what you're saying.
you know what I mean? You get to labeling people, you get to, you know what I mean? I just feel like the way, like even like I said with that anal play post, and I'm like, if you don't like it, that's cool. But I feel like the way that you approach the conversation, to me, does not leave room for the conversation to even happen.
Right, I got you. Yeah, because you're not creating space for other opinions or people that may have
Because
a
you're
different
already
opinion than
labeling
yours.
people that may have the different opinion.
I got you.
That's
makes
what
sense.
I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree with. Yeah, there's a way of expressing your personal opinion, but also leaving space for people to express theirs. But instead of being judgmental about, you are basically going to generalize everybody that likes or does that particular thing, and then somebody that may like it may not want to comment because they feel like that they're going to get attacked for wanting.
Yeah, because
you
already labeled them.
Exactly. No, yeah, I get it.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I think, and that's why we got this platform, opening the table to have conversations from people that differ than us, which I'm definitely open to, and just expanding your perspective. That's all. So, man, this was a good episode. SAC Connect. Shout out to SAC Connect, man, for being on the episode again.
That's a good conversation.
Shout out to Razio, man. We miss you, man. We're going to, see you soon. We want to thank everybody that listened. Please subscribe, follow, like us on YouTube. Help us with the algorithm. If you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, please do that. You can also leave one on the website. You can also please sign up for our email newsletter. We'll keep you updated with events, new episodes, etc. And 2022 is going to be a big year for us. We are growing, we are improving, and we about to get it done. So we want to appreciate y'all. We again appreciate SAC Connect, and again, please connect with them on their website. And if there's any questions or comments or anything that you guys want to ask us, just hit us. We are all available, and please check out the new website. It's dope.
Yeah,
it's dope. It's lit. It's lit. You can again go back, listen to old episodes, watch old videos, etc., etc., etc. So we gonna see y'all do happy Black History Month. By the time y'all listen to this, it will be February. I don't know if y'all gonna tune in to the We Need to Talk About Cosby. I guess that's airing on Monday, the 1st. So when you guys listen to this, you'll probably be airing that. I'm pretty sure we're probably gonna have a conversation about that. But yeah, enjoy Black History Month, and y'all be safe out there.
Yep.
All right.
We out.
We out.
Peace.
Let's go.